Today is Monday, the 28th of October 2024. It's the last week of the month of October and just 40 days more to go for the 2024 presidential and parliamentary elections. Welcome to the AM show on Joy News around the world and across Ghana's 16 regions. You're listening to me, Sweetie Abochi. I do this with Benjamin Akakpo. He joins me later. But this morning, we'll start by serving you the latest updates on news stories in and around the country. After that, we'll sit with our guests to review the newspapers. Nanaya Achapim Jantwa is former General Secretary of the CPP. And we also have another guest joining us for the news review. And after that, Muftana Abdullah, of course, will bring you AM Sports. We don't like to leave you sports enthusiasts out of the lineup. After that, we get into our big stories, and we'll start from the north because police and military personnel have moved in to bring situation under control following rising tensions in Boko and its environs in an unending chieftaincy dispute that is costing lives and property. Also, we'll bring you an exclusive interview with former Minister for Trade and Industry, Ekospio Gabra, and you don't want to miss that. He has a chat with Benjamin Akakpo on all important matters. And then later on, we'll look at trust in government institutions dwindling, with the police service and the office of the president being perceived to be the most corrupt in the 2024 Afro Barometer survey report. We'll bring you details and updates on that. You want to stay with us and join the conversations either via social media handles. We are Joy News on TV, so you can comment and react. Or at the tail end of the show, when we open the phone lines, you can call us and have your say. Welcome aboard. You're very welcome to the AM show, the Monday edition of the show. Stay with us from now to 10 a.m. But let's start with serving you the AM news. This is the AM News. Let's get into the details, starting from the north, where tensions have been rising since over the weekend in Boko and its environs over the protracted chieftaincy disputes, resulting in loss of lives and property. Now, there's a combined police and military force there trying to contain the situation and de-escalate. A statement released by the Ghana Police Service reads, and you have the statement on your screens in a bit. The statement says the Ghana Police Service and the Ghana Armed Forces would like to assure the general public that we are working to bring the security situation in Boko, its surrounding areas, and along the Bolgatanga, Wale Tamale Highway under control. Aside the police and military deployment in Boko and its environs, there is also a joint police and military deployment along the Bolgatanga, Wale Tamale Highway to ensure security and manage vehicular traffic. Now, the security agencies would like to once again assure the public that we are committed, that is the police service, committed to maintaining peace and security, law and order in Boko and its environs. That's a statement from the Ghana Police Service on rising tensions in Boko and its environs over chieftaincy disputes that the police and military are trying to put under control. In other stories, Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam has accused Asogli Power Plant of bad faith over the decision to shut down the plant over debt owed by the Electricity Company of Ghana. Now, the independent power producer earlier this month shut down its operations in over $259 million debt owed by the Electricity Company of Ghana. And speaking at a news conference in Washington, D.C. in the United States of America, the finance minister described the action as interesting, looking at the progress that has been made on the dealings with the debt issue. Meanwhile, the government has announced that it has made significant progress on addressing concerns of Asogli Power Plant and restructuring debts owed to other independent power producers. George Wiafe has more in the story from the USA.
Speaking at a news conference in Washington, D.C., USA, Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam raised concerns about Asogli Power Plant exercising bad faith over debts owed by the Electricity Company of Ghana.
I had meetings with Asogli, and we agreed that we will pay. But we wanted them to sign the settlement agreement because this is one of the terms of the agreement. They said, no, we should pay before they sign. But if it is part of the settlement agreement, why should I implement an agreement that has not been signed? And so we communicated this to Asogle, only for Asogle to come and say they no longer want 30 million, now they want 60 million. And if we don't pay them 60 million, they will shut down. That is why they shut down. Right. And so people behave as if we as a country, we don't know our rights or we don't know what we want, especially when election is closer. Everybody thinks that, look, I can put a gun on the head of Ghana. And so by going ahead to shut down, they acted in bad faith. This is not how partners work together, particularly when it involves financial negotiations. So they shut down. We continue to produce power. I was informed only yesterday that they are ready to sign the settlement agreement.
Meanwhile, the finance minister has revealed that the government has made significant progress with the Sogli power plant and other independent power producers on death order.
We've really gone far. We negotiated with about 6 IPPs. The first 4, Senate, AXA, and then Car Power and Asogle. 2 of them we have signed on. We've signed the agreements, the settlement, and they are operational because they are not required to go to Parliament for approval. So Senate and AXA sign off.
The finance minister assured that government has also taken the needed measures to stabilize the power situation in Ghana whilst addressing most of the funding issues associated with the power generation sector.
Now, in our latest episode of Streets of Despair, a Joy News feature series, I, Sweetie Aboshi, take you deep into the heart of Tema Station, where a family bound by circumstance rather than blood has created a fragile sense of home. Beneath the terminal, a scrap of rubber, a mosquito net, and a thread of hope are all that stands between them and the unyielding streets. This is our latest episode of Streets of Despair. Accra, a city that never sleeps. While most of us retreat to our homes, the streets tell a different story. Here at Tema Station, children call the streets home. Different groups have settled here, families, not bound by blood, but by circumstance. Poverty and unemployment push them to the streets, where survival looks very different. A mat beneath a bus stop, a mosquito net, and hope are their only shelter. But the night brings danger, and 17-year-old Samira shares her daily fears with me.
Sleeping on the street is very difficult because sleeping here, scammers, thieves, they are moving on us all around, all night and all day. So some people have been stealing our things, and we don't know. We are just managing to like that until we go. It's just by the grace. It's just God gift. God just gifted us.
Despite the harsh conditions here, teenage mother Aisha believes life in Accra is still better than the struggle she left up north.
Life here is very difficult. It's very difficult. There's no work here. The work, if you want to get work, it will be difficult for you to get work. And if you went out to go and carry kaya, it will be very difficult to get that kaya.
Why did you come to Accra?
Just to find money. Because working on north is very difficult. And here too, we are just managing here.
I spent the evening with one family. These children here, too young to understand their plight, also find happiness in the little things, like a simple day's routine. They look forward to the night because it is a time for games, laughter, and storytelling, an escape from reality when they have the lorry station to themselves. This is life on Accra's street, a life of resilience and struggle, but also of hope. Hope for a future away from these streets, where their children can dream beyond survival. Suchi Abochi's report for Joy News, Accra. The full version of this feature, this story, will air on our bulletins across the day, so pay attention. Now, in other stories, running mate of the All People's Progress, Reverend Dr. Samuel Wolanyo Mensah, has expressed concerns over the high cost of doing business in the country. He highlighted factors such as high data costs and high withholding and corporate tax rates as key barriers hampering the growth of local businesses and investor confidence. He urged the government to critically review these costs to strengthen the resilience of the local economy and take decisive action to address these challenges. Dr. Mensah shared these insights at the inaugural Africa Best Business Awards in Accra. Carlos Kaloni reports.
Under the theme, A Cause for Progress, showcasing Africa's business excellence, the maiden Ghana edition of the African Best Business Awards honored over 25 corporate organizations excelling in their field. The event created a collaborative platform for business executives to connect and share insights. In an interview with journalists, economists, and All People's Congress APC running mate, Reverend Dr. Samuel Wolanyo Mensah voiced concerns over the high cost of doing business and the country's current tax regime. He emphasized that these challenges hinder business growth and urged the government to review withholding and corporate taxes to foster a more conducive environment for businesses.
Whereas government is putting pragmatic policies and programs in place, we still realize that we still have few challenges in terms of taxes, and also the cost of doing business is so high. So we are just appealing to the government to really work on the withholding taxes, because it definitely affects business plowing back financial resources into the business to expand businesses. So withholding taxes should be reduced, and also corporate taxes should be reduced. I also believe that the other cost of doing business in terms of data, the cost of data is just escalating. So we should do something about the cost of data. Data cost is so high, so we should reduce the cost of data as well as other utilities. I believe that the water bills, light bills for most companies are just unbearable, and this can discourage businesses. This can kill and destroy businesses. So if we wanted to develop the local economy and make it more resilient, then we need to look at the cost of doing business.
Event manager at Maven Communications, organizers of the African Best Business Award, Seth Jojo Danso Asante, explained that the event aims to annually honor top corporate organizations across the continent.
Now, with these awards, looking at the market size of Africa business, we have over 1.4 billion market size. Now, this award seeks to simply project businesses from the east, west, and south of Africa onto the global level and even here on the continent of Africa. Now, what we seek to achieve is that we would create a platform where businesses can interconnect with each other to aid in the growth of the business environment and even also push the Africa economy further.
Some award winners from both the private and public sectors expressed confidence that the African Best Business Awards will foster stronger collaboration among businesses, driving growth across the continent.
This platform, like I said early on, is so it creates the atmosphere for us to have that learning from country to country, best practices that has been practiced in other countries.
I think it's a very good platform where we can network to know what is happening in other parts of Africa and how the market is evolving, and how we can really extend our businesses into those parts of Africa.
The African Best Business Awards are set to take place in selected countries across East, West, Central, and North Africa in the coming days. For Joy News, Carlos Kaloni, Accra.
The Evangelical Presbyterian Church Ghana has appealed to President Akufo-Addo to sign the anti-gay bill into law. The church bemoaned the government's delay in signing the bill after it was passed by Parliament, which it says was endorsed by 90% of Ghanaians. The national president of EPCG, Haji Haga Roslyn Mawenam Kuma Sewu, reiterated this at the centenary celebration of the Haji Gaza in Ho.
The headquarters of the Evangelical Presbyterian Church Ghana in Ho hosted the 4-day centenary anniversary celebrations of the Haji Haga. The activities was climaxed with a church service at the Dala Cathedral. In a sermon, the moderator of the General Assembly of the EP Church Ghana, Right Reverend Dr. Lieutenant Colonel Bliss Agbeko, called on Christians to renew their faith in the Lord.
Where there is hopelessness, there is spiritual blindness. Where there is lameness, there is spiritual weakness. But God is able to turn things around, to make you have hope in order to see the future, the desired future. What you so hope for is what you will get.
The national president of the Evangelical Presbyterian Church Ghana, Haji Haga, Roslyn Marianam Kumasewu, entreated the government not to brush the anti-LGBTQ bill under the carpet.
We want to retreat with the government and parliament that the issue of the LGBTQA1+++ cannot be at limbo perpetually, and therefore we urge the president of the country, Ghana, to sign the bill into law, since over 90% of the population are in support of it.
Fiaga of the Agotime traditional area, Nenenue Keteku, appealed to Ghanaians to ensure the country remains peaceful after the December 7th general elections.
I mean, you I don't know the Vietnam is on here. Minamia hour, the Lunia toilet for the Danti. Mia Dapoliti for farming. Mimako a hair, allo a Yidamia non-tio. Net of you that I'm a hour of Pololeto. NDCM to Nikata, who regarded Domina and Lamenami. Mikatami watching the coup de canu. Tamikon Tifafa. The Miazo that Beijing. The Mount of the Dodo, the Ganantila, Wavamenami, Bemia Congo.
The centenary celebration of the National Haji Haga of the EP Church was marked by a donation to the less privileged inpatients at the Ho Teaching Hospital and presentation of 14 royal palm tree seedlings to the EP Theological Seminary in Peki. Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News. Ho.
The festive season in India sees government supporting rural artisans by providing stalls to market their handcrafted products at no cost for at least 15 days. Joy News Upper West Regional Correspondent, among 30 journalists from the West and Central Africa, invited for a familiarization visit to India, reports on the benefits that initiatives like Dili Hat could offer African countries, including Ghana. Here's the report.
Dili Hat, a place where government of India, through the Ministry of Textiles, Handicraft and Handlooms, created to give opportunity to its citizens who are allotted stalls on rotational basis for at least 15 days. Visitors are sometimes treated to live music, dance performances, and art exhibitions that represent the various states of India. Dili Hat is not just a marketplace. It has been visualized as a showpiece of traditional Indian culture, a forum where rural life and folk art are brought closer to an urban clientele. It is here that the craftspersons find an opportunity to demonstrate their artistic skills to thousands of visitors every day. The concept of Dili Hat started about 30 years ago.
It's festive season in India, and that's where you can see lots of people, sea of people coming over to see these products and also to see what they can get from this festive occasion.
I bumped into this manufacturer cum designer of fabrics, Shifata Bhattacharya, who has been in the business for over 30 years.
This is the design, this Delhi Heart. You are here, this is the only market of weaver, only market of this is handicraft market, handicraft and handloom market. All are handmade. The actual artisan are sitting here. Yes, they are the right person. Maybe you will find number of things, number of pieces. And this is the festival time. Here in India, this is the festival time. People are asking.
So what festival is it?
This is Diwali. And for Indians, this is a big festival. On 31st or 1st, it is Diwali. We celebrate because we are from Khadi people. So we celebrate this month in the name of Mahatma Gandhi.
What benefits can investors from Africa and for that matter Ghana stand to benefit? Or what are the opportunities?
It is very good opportunities. If you invest here, you will get very good benefit from here. You will not find this labor, this skill, this fabric, this design anywhere else of the world.
Another is this man who only gave his name as Khan. Khan is a native of Kashmir and he came to sell handmade cloth known as Pashmina.
This is from goats of Kashmir. The goats from Himalayan areas, we found them, we have natives there. So we get wool from this, and this is the Pashmina. So in Pashmina we have different kinds of stones. Like this is Pashmina. In the background you can see the design. This is done by hand. And it's all done by hand. And mostly in Kashmir, women done this job. Men weave this kind of shawls and women does this kind of work. So it's the collaboration of men and women. So we came here in Delhi to sell our own products. They can save you from cold. The Pashmina is very warm thing. This is stone. It's just a 60 gram, but it's like you are wearing a big jacket.
What about the people who came to buy the products?
I came here several times because we found every 15 days there is a different kinds of, service going on, and stalls are there, different states, they have their clothes, food. That's why every time I came here to enjoy all the things.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafiq Salam, Delhi Heart, India.
From India, let's come back to the country where an intense academic showdown saw St. Augustine's College clinch the last ticket to the grand finale of the National Science and Maths Quiz, shutting the doors on Wesley Girls High School and Ghana National College. Now, it's a bittersweet twist as reigning champs Presec Legon find themselves on the sidelines this year. My colleague Jacqueline Ansamayebwa tells us more in this report.
In the last semi-final contest, Ghana National College surged ahead in the opening rounds, sparking hope among their supporters. But St. Augustine's College turned the heat up and took control, breezing through the remaining rounds with an impressive lead.
Wesley Girls High School has 37 points. Ghana National College has 49 points. St. Augustine's College has 52 points.
Even though Ghana National College nailed 3 out of 4 riddles, Augusco's grip on victory remained firm. The students erupted into cheers, celebrating their triumphant stride into the finale, proving their mettle and determination to bring the trophy home.
And since we started this contest from the 1A stage, we have been following our motto, which means perseverance conquers all. And as we are going into the final, we are going to conquer all through our perseverance. As we are going back to the college, we are going to get ready. Our boys will be ready for Wednesday. We are going to bring a trophy back to St. Augustine's College. You know, it's a Rosary month. We're a Catholic school. ABSU 94. They came in 2019. and we won. They came in this year as well. We are going to win.
Now, the grand finale promises an intense showdown with St. Augustine's College set to face off against Keta Senior High Technical School and their long-time rivals, Infantapim School. With unwavering confidence and a fierce competitive spirit, Augusto's team is ready to give it their all, determined to write another chapter in the National Science and Maths Quiz history.
We are beating them, and this is hosted win. Ketasco, we are coming live and colored for you.
We always beat Butchie in contest, and we are going to beat them again. They are dogs for a reason. We always carry them. We are going to beat them on Wednesday. As for Keta, we don't even care about them.
The big question remains, will Augusto or Infantapim clinch their third trophy, or will Ketasco make history by securing their very first National Science and Maths Quiz trophy? For Joy News, I'm Jacqueline Ansuma Yeboah.
And the 2024 National Science and Maths Quiz is produced by Prime Time Limited and sponsored by the Ghana Education Service in partnership with Goyle PLC and supported by Pepsodent, Dupay, Prudential Life Insurance Ghana and Bettermalt. And the broadcast of the 2024 National Science and Maths Quiz on Joy News is supported by NASCO, Vitamilk, Virtual Security Africa, Ace Medical Insurance, Built Financial Technologies, DBS Roofing, Syntex Tanks, Family Health Medical College, Chopbox Technologies, and Action Secondary Technical, DPS Pipes, Wakanao, and Coronation Insurance. Thank you so much, and that's how we wrap up for the AM News on the AM Show. Stay with us because News Review comes up shortly. This is the News Review segment on the AM Show on Joy News. My guest this morning, Nanaya Achepim Jantwa, former General Secretary of the CPP, and she joins us in the studio. Good morning and welcome to the AM Show.
Good morning, sweetie. You're looking good.
Thank you. You're looking good. I love your necklace.
Thank you.
So let's get straight into, I know we're chatting before we went live, but what's on your mind this morning?
Oh, today, I don't know if it's true, but I was listening to, good morning to your viewers and good morning to everybody. I was listening to your sister station and I heard Cynthia, Honorable Cynthia, was nearly assassinated. Yes. I don't know how far it's true.
You heard this morning?
Yes, on your sister station, that some of the bullets caught some of her people on a campaign. And this was a clash between the MPP and her group. And I think it is a bit unfortunate. You remember there was something like that at Matayeko, guns were shot between MPP and I think going into the election, we need to be very careful. I think that there's a small arms commission, right? I think they should go around to do some swoop to try and get these arms which are in the hands of private people and deal with it, because we cannot, sweetie, to be very honest, we cannot afford to go through this because it's becoming one too many. And I believe that we need to get the guns out of private hands. Because, I mean, for a woman, it's when you do these things, women become afraid to get into politics. Meanwhile, we have an affirmative action bill that says that we should get a certain number of women in our political terrain. But if this happens, a husband will not allow a wife to go, a mother will not allow a daughter, a son and a daughter will not allow a mother. So, I mean, seriously, we need to be very careful with some of these things. And I think that we should speak out vociferously against it. I mean, guns in private hands, we shouldn't joke with it. I also heard them talking about the board. I don't know if it's in the papers.
Trying to get the story, actually, but you
yes, I don't know if I can mention the name of the outlet. It was on Star News this morning. And also the hand, then we'll get to it. I was a bit also not a bit unhappy that Reuters is a very credible media outlet, and even as young journalists, we used to take news from Reuters for GNA, and I don't see why. So if there is anything, I think we should look into it. But I am a bit worried about Madam Cynthia Morrison.
Yeah, I've seen the story.
Are
It's
you
on myjoyonline.com.
Okay, it's on myjoy.
It says Aguna West NPP Nasara coordinator shot in campaign clash at Nyankrum.
Yeah.
I think that's where it happened. Okay.
Yeah.
But we'll bring you details in our subsequent
it's
bulletins.
something that we need to look at.
And it's sad. We really should get the guns
off
the
streets. We should get the guns off the streets as soon as...
The hands of private individuals.
Yes, we have a few days to elections, and I believe
40 days.
40 days is just about a month and 10 days.
Yeah.
So I think there's a need for us to take the guns off the streets. Because you see, whoever wins, wins, whoever loses, loses, and it should be on a fair ground. I don't think that election should be doomsday. It's not Armageddon. If I mean, you lose, that's it. And when you win, then you move forward. Everybody has a day to lose and a day to win. And that's
let me give our audience a bit of the story from myjoyonline.com. And it says, Aguna West NPP constituency Nasara coordinator Haruna Rashid is in critical condition after being shot during a campaign clash in Aguna Nyankrum in the central region. And the incident occurred around 9 p.m. while Rashid was traveling with a convoy of Aguna West NPP parliamentary candidate Chris Arthur. 3 other individuals were injured. Now, according to police sources, supporters of Chris Arthur and Cynthia Morrison, a rival candidate, encountered each other while campaigning in the same area. Tensions reportedly escalated when Mr. Arthur's convoy encountered a roadblock allegedly set up by Ms. Morrison's supporters. And as the convoy attempted to turn away, shots were fired, and Rashid, who also serves as Mr. Arthur's campaign manager, was struck in the ribs. This is serious.
A serious thing.
So it looks like Cynthia Morrison is herself not in any bad or critical condition.
She's fine.
She's fine, but it's the coordinator.
But do you see what has happened?
Yeah, it's bad.
The MP herself is fine, and that is what normally happens, and we need to be very careful.
Yeah.
The ordinary people, one has been shot. They said 3 people are in hospital. But then it means those of us who are not covered, I'm talking about the ordinary citizens, they bear the brunt of some of these problems. Yeah. So we need to really deal with it.
Which is why I keep saying that when these politicians are asking you, an individual, a citizen, to pick up arms, as they have family and friends. They should go and pick up the arms, because you just lose your life for nothing.
This fire for fire must stop.
But it's a Monday morning. Let's get into the newspapers.
Let me start. Just run so fast. We were here last week and today we are back.
In fact, I remember when we launched 100 days to elections.
Yes.
And it's only 40 days.
It's 40 days.
Oof. Well,
time as soon.
Let me start with the Ghanaian Times. What's the time as soon? So let's start with Times. Get Fund initiates 11,248 projects nationwide. 7,000 completed, over 4,000 at various stages. World leaders congratulate Shirley Ayoko-Botwe on her selection as Commonwealth Secretary General. Congratulations to her. This is no small feat. It's really big. And I hope that she's able to sell the country with that position and put us in a place where investors can come and, raise us from our economic woes. But Magdan sets to build Adna ports to enhance marine transport logistics. Ghana WB, that's World Bank, signed $260 million deal to tackle energy sector inefficiencies. I want to get into that story, but of course, let's start from page 12, where there's the Shirley Ayoko-Botwe story. Let's see what this is about. Congratulations are pouring in from around the world for the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Shirley Ayoko-Botwe, following her historic election as General Secretary of the Commonwealth by its 56 member states. Well-wishers, including President Akufo-Addo, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, AU High Representative for Silencing the Guns in Africa, Dr. Mohamed Ibn Chambas, Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and outgoing Secretary General Baroness Patricia Scotland are all part of those pouring in congratulatory messages. And I remember our very own Emefa Pawo went on tour with her when she was campaigning. So this is big feat for her, and congratulations are going out to her. Now, Ghana World Bank signed $260 million US dollars deal to tackle energy sector inefficiencies. I know you have a lot to say about this. Now, Ghana has signed that $260 US deal, $260 million US deal with the World Bank to help solve the 1.2 billion energy sector losses and other inefficiencies in the sector. Now, the deal under the Energy Sector Recovery Program comprises a 250 million credit metering procurement package and a 10 million clean cooking grant component in line with the bank's program for results. So we are getting $260 million to solve $1.2 billion energy sector losses and inefficiencies. We still have a long way to go, wouldn't you say?
But what, let me, are we...
yes, let's get into
okay.
it. What's on your mind?
I'll come to them, but I'm very happy for Madam Shelley Ayoko-Botwe. She's been a member, it shows that she's been a member of parliament before. She's campaigning, and she had one of the biggest constituencies in Ghana.
Did,
yes, and I believe this is a victory for all women, and a victory for Ghana, and a victory for Africa. And so, I mean, you congratulate her. We know that she will really put Ghana on the map.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that when she gets there, she shouldn't forget Ghana.
Oh, how can she?
Yes, even though she should remember that we took her there, even though there will be other, I mean, exigencies that will take her attention. But in congratulating her, I believe that we should also congratulate His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
Okay.
Because as the president, I mean, he was very instrumental, I mean, in
securing
and he even went to Comoros, I hear, with her, and where the voting was taking place. And
in fact, last week we did a story about the president's endorsement of Shelley Ayoko-Botwe.
Oh, that is very, very great. I mean, for that one, I'll congratulate him for this feat, because he has pushed the woman. And
he has pushed the woman?
Yes, I mean, he's done well.
Okay.
At least he endorsed it, and he campaigned for
Are you saying without that endorsement from the president, she couldn't have...
It would have been difficult.
Okay.
This is a big arena. Do you get me? And with everything, I'm very truthful. This is a very big arena.
Okay.
And a lot of competition. You know, there was a woman before she came. So certainly the men...
Patricia.
Yes, the men would think that is their time. And you understand, and you know when a woman takes a position, the next one, it will take a long time for another woman. But this one, I believe, I mean, where praise is due, let's give it. I think he has done well.
Okay.
The energy sector, please. 260 million against 1 billion. But what has caused it?
What has caused the inefficiencies?
Yes, we've been signing deals upon deals. And it has not changed.
But it's the discrepancies in the purchasing power of our currency, and we are, selling energy or let me say power in CDs, but we need to buy fuel and other things.
There are certain level of losses. There are losses, technical and commercial, and there are collection ratios. Do you get me? So if you are not doing the collection, if the forex discrepancy is there, so you can calculate to see which portion is forex discrepancy. Normally, the forex discrepancy can be calculated and dealt with. When you are given a tariff, the components, what is used to calculate the tariff is in dollars. You don't use CD. So it is, we project over a certain period, knowing that you make too much losses. But it's more of I believe it's more of a management and commitment.
Really?
Yes.
How so?
Yeah, because if you are managing your own business, you are efficient. So I believe that there is a lot of people are not being efficient as they should. And also this issue of debt. There was ESLA. ESLA was put in place to deal with some of these debts and money that the utility would need to work. And ESLA has been collateralized. So it is it's problematic that money that is meant for the sector, you have collateralized it to a loan and put it in the consolidated fund. You don't even know what you are using the money for. Do you get me?
Yeah.
I believe that there are 3 levies on our fuel build-up, tax build-up. Energy sector levies, 3. So I don't know, I don't understand why we are having issues, because I think somebody is just misusing the money. You heard about the ECG, where there were accusations that they collect 1.something billion and
the gaps in the cash waterfall.
The cash 842. Do you get me? So it means that there's some form of inefficiency at the management level that we have to look at.
For ECG?
For
the entire power? Yeah.
We have to look at everywhere. And we have to also look at the people we put in place. The person might be an engineer, but the person should also have a financial background. The person might be a lawyer, but the person must have a management and financial background. I mean, when it comes to our utilities, sweetie, I don't think we should politicize it. Because you see, the tariffs are given to commensurate to your operations. So if you come out and you tell us that you don't have enough money for operations, it's problematic. Because you see, these credits, grants that they give to us, do you get me? They tell you what you should use the money for.
Yeah, it comes to conditions as well.
Conditionalities.
For example,
now they are talking about
they're going to be
meters.
Buying $1 million worth of meters.
Meters. So if you even get the meters and you are not collecting, if you get the meters and your losses, they are illegal connections, bypasses, it will not help you.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Yeah. And the other one is greenhouse something. That one is not directly linked to our electricity, right? No. That's something else. So when they give you the money doesn't go into areas that will help you upgrades. I mean, changing lines, changing more transformers, areas where there are brownouts, areas where there are, issues, where they have to give you maybe some overloaded transformers. It doesn't cover those. And that is why the ESLA was done, so that in case there are any operational shortfalls, as in cash, it can cover. But now the ESLA is gone. This government has just collateralized the ESLA.
Now let's do some other stories.
But it's true.
Oyster Agribusiness secures $2 million funding to expand operations in Ghana's agricultural sector. Let's process country's mineral resources locally, Miracle Duka is saying. That's the Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. Ghana Armed Forces to get training center, Secretariat for Africa Arm Wrestling. 22nd Accra Seniors Tennis Tourney opens today. GGA organizes seminar for sports journalists. Those are just some stories in the Ghanaian Times. On the back page, Gold Stars upset. Hearts to stay top, Kotoko. Holy Stars draw.
Oh, my Kotoko.
Kotoko.
Oh.
Let me go now to the Daily Searchlight, and I'll come to you in a bit. Offenso Chieftaincy standoff. Chief Justice petitioned. Let's get straight into the story. It's on page 2. Let me get into that quickly. So, mounting tensions in Offenso have led to a petition directed at Ghana's Chief Justice and the Ministry of Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, urging intervention in a chieftaincy dispute involving Dr. Kofi Kodria Sapong, that's KK Sapong. Yeah. On October 21st, community leaders Ebusuapeni Akwesi Amo and Openin Robert Ahinkan submitted the petition, alleging that ongoing delays by the Ashanti Regional House of Chiefs are inciting frustrations that threaten local peace. And the petition appeals for swift justice or judicial action, warning of potential unrest if the matter remains unresolved. So it's gotten to the table of the desk of the Chief Justice now. Let me do some other stories quickly in the Daily Searchlight and I'll come to you. Ofuman Oman Hima endorses Alan's vision to make chiefs co-trustees of natural resources. Cardinal Namdini mining project to be commissioned in northern Ghana. CD sells at 16.55 to $1. Ghana 16.16 on BOG Interbank. I hear that by the end of this year, it should be looking good for the city. But we are in November. This is the last days of, this is the last week of October. But the projections you hear, by the end of this year, inflation will go down. Our city
Who said that? Baumia.
Anyway, let me finish here and I'll come to you. Commonwealth leaders say time has come for discussion on slavery repatriations and vote for NPP to continue transformation of the nation. Dr. Yause Dichum is saying that. We, the people of Krachi, owe NPP a debt of gratitude. Really? Okay. Gender Ministry holds breast cancer awareness and screening exercise at Kaneshi. On the back page of the Daily Searchlight. Kissing scenes are all about make-believe, not real. Ghanaian actress Nadia Buhari on that. James Gardner is just a friend. I don't mix business with pleasure. Barcelona annihilates Madrid on their home field. The sports enthusiasts, stay tuned. Mufta Nabila Abdullah will bring you updates. So these are some stories in the Daily Searchlight. Naya, which of these piques your interest that you want to get?
There are a lot too, so just...
Let's start with what you wrote down first.
Oh, what I wrote down, the chieftaincy thing.
Yeah.
What is it about? Because I thought that they have already installed Dr. K.K. Sapong.
Yeah, this is coming after the death of Nana Wiafe.
Yeah, Nana Wiafe, yes.
Yeah.
So is he installed or he's not?
I think that's where the
problem
is.
Why are they not taking it to Tumfor? Because normally these things are dealt at the palace. So why is it going to court? I mean, that was my first question. That how protracted...
You don't think they should have petitioned the Supreme Court?
No, but who is the custodian of the stools of Ashanti?
Yeah.
It is Otumfor Osei-Tutu II. So if there is anything, it should go, unless it's gone there and they have not been able to deal with it.
Okay, the report says there are delays. So I'm sure it went first to Otumfor. First, the Ashanti Regional House of Chiefs. Yeah, that's where they went to address this matter. But there are delays. So they're petitioning the Chief Justice to come in for swift action.
I think the Chief Justice will take it back to Otumfor.
Oh, okay.
I believe strongly, because there must be a reason why he's not installed. I don't know what the reason is, but I mean, typically, I thought he has been installed a long time ago after Nana Wiafe died. I also saw Alan's picture there. He's talking. Let's talk about Alan.
Oman Hima endorses Alan's vision to be chiefs, co-trustees of natural resources. Are they not already, in a way, custodians of the land on which these resources
are
not mined?
written? It's not written. So if it is some document to cover it, and maybe some legislative instrument or some amendment to the Constitution, which we should do, it's long overdue. And I believe this morning, let me send my greetings to Honorable Alan Chemating, so that, and His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, and my flag bearer, Nana Frimpong Sapong Kumankuma. So I believe that, I mean, it's a great thing. Alan has some great policies, the same as my flag bearer and His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. They have some great policies for this nation. And
do you think this co-trustee policy would help fix our problems, especially Galamsey?
Yes, because then they are responsible. Now they are hiding behind the scenes. When you talk about it, they tell you that it's not in their hands. But if you are made a co-trustee and it belongs to you, you would ensure that it is looked after properly.
Okay.
Do you get me?
Yeah.
So once you bring them into the picture as people who are part of it, then certainly, I mean, when
they are already custodians of these lands.
No, they say
nobody would actually go and start mining anywhere if the land did not belong to someone in authority. I'm talking about the traditional rulers.
Look, I picked...
They're the ones, okay.
Sweetie, I picked a taxi in London Heathrow, and that was in 1998. And the person I picked the taxi, normally when I sit, whoever you are, I chat with you. So I started talking to him, and he has sold their family land for Galamsey for 5,000 cedis. At that time, it was, I don't know, 50 million, something, I've forgotten.
Okay.
But a certain amount.
Okay.
And this was 1998. Do you get me? So there are people who also have the lands, which are family lands. But if the chiefs are made custodians, they are made trustees of these lands, even if they are family lands, at least the chiefs could have a say. So if you have a chief and there's Galamsey in your area, he should have also added punitive measures for those who will have Galamsey in their areas.
Yeah.
So you see, when you are going to Kumasi, you see all the lands by the roadside, the forest. I asked that, why are we not, I mean, cultivating to grow food crops?
Yeah.
And they told me that it's land tenure system. It belongs to families. It doesn't belong to government.
Yeah.
But I believe that we should go further to say that government should have a say in the lands first before families. Because those lands are vast lying there. We are not using
If government
it.
wanted, they could acquire those lands
That is what
temporarily.
I'm saying. Yes, like Kwame
whatever
Nkrumah
they want
did.
to do with it.
You know, Kwame Nkrumah acquired lands to build houses, to have the state farms. And I think we should go back to the blueprint of Kwame Nkrumah. Seriously, the development blueprint of Kwame Nkrumah should be looked at. The 7-year development plan, the 5-year development plan, I think we should go back to it. We also have the National Development Planning Commission. We have all manner of economic development plans we have put down. We should throw away all these manifestos.
Planning and policies are not our problem. So we have brains that can think up and create
it is not
initiatives and stuff. But it's the implementation of all these programs and policies.
Every government that has come in the Fourth Republic has a certain plan, Vision 2020, something 70. Do you get me? But they don't use it. At the end of the day, they go and do a manifesto. The manifesto is for their party. It's not for the country. So we should amalgamate all the development plans from Kwame Nkrumah and put it together and see how it was done. You see, Kwame Nkrumah's development for this nation is a blueprint that we should all, copy. And it should be for the nation. Do you get me? So that we know how to I always say that we should have a composite development plan. So when you come 4 years, you do it from page 1 to page 3. Somebody will come and do it from page. So then we'll be developing. Because in 8 years, a government cannot develop the whole nation. But if we say that, okay, you are coming this year, you have 4 years. We want you to develop roads. We want you to health. We want you to do education.
Yeah.
These are the 3 thematic areas we have given to you. Complete in your 4 years.
Is that something your flag bearer and your party, the CPP, is considering? Are you going to adopt?
Yes, we are looking at it seriously. She's really looking at it in developing this nation. It is her wish that we go back, and that is what she's using. That we go back to the Kwame Nkrumah development plan. And you see, we do it step by step. It's like building blocks. Because somebody comes and they do what is in their interest. Another will come, they will do what is in their interest. And everything is haphazard. You see,
that's how come we have so many abandoned projects, because, well, it's not my government. Yes. If this government completes it, the credits will not solely be for them. And so
we should stop the credit going to governments. We should, let's look at Ghanaians. I beg you. Anyway. And there was also something about slavery repatriation. Yeah. I've been talking about it, and I think it is time. Maybe Madam Ayoko-Bojo will look at it and even extend the advocacy beyond the Commonwealth nations to the U.S., where we had a lot of our slaves going there. I think it is time for them to give us reparation. Okay. National Security debunks Reuters Islamist reports. Ayoko, we've talked about it. We are winning the elections, but $1.
But Nana, you have to read it.
I won't waste my time to read this thing. $1 to CD.
You have to read it.
No, but
we are winning the elections, according to Dr. Mahmoud Baomi. That's on the Daily Guide news.
Please, he has abandoned his post. Yesterday, I was thinking it's more comfortable campaigning as flag bearer than being. I don't know what these people did to this man, that he's even running away, as if he's found a comfortable zone. His comfort zone now is in campaigning.
The season demands it, Nana. We just said that.
So he has left
40 days.
He has left
election, and he is not the president.
He has left his.
So he has to be out there. He has to convince the people to give him the mandate so he can be president.
He has left his
and then
seat.
He can.
It is a personal wish, it is not a national wish, and he has left his seat.
It's not personal. It's for the party as well. He's campaigning for the
personal.
Party.
It's not personal.
How is it? It's national. I want to win the election. He needs to work for the party to remain in office.
Has Ghana chosen him?
Well, but that's what he's doing, so Ghana can.
No, I'm saying Ghana has chosen, but we have chosen him to be our vice president.
Would you rather the president left his post?
No, the president is there, but he should also do what he has to do.
And then who campaigned for him? He's running for
that makes it personal. He doesn't think about us. Because why is he not sitting down to make sure that the dollar is stabilized? He's an economist. And Nanado said he's comfortable choosing an economist. Nanado was going to choose a woman, and they decided to choose him because he's an economist.
We have to.
So he has run away. He has to do his work. He's run away. We are waiting.
Let's do one more story and then we have to go.
So let's go to the other this thing. At least I think most of the things we've done here.
Yeah.
Now Shoko Wu's Greater Accra voters for Barometer. No terrorist activities in Ghana.
Who's saying that?
That is Mr. Albert Kandapa, National Security Minister. You see, he's saying there's nothing like that. There's a press release.
I think
he says,
I think that we cannot say that there's no terrorism in Ghana if armed people, armed individuals can harass journalists doing their work. I think that's terrorism.
Yes.
If journalists are going to expose your illegal activities near water bodies in terms of mining, and you can take up arms and harass them, assault them, I don't think we can confidently say that terrorism doesn't exist in Ghana. Where are they getting these arms from?
Yes, but this
what is emboldening them to even assault journalists?
Who is dealing in arms in this country? You have to look at it. And how are they selling this? But this one is particularly, specifically to jihadists on our borders.
Right, okay.
And they are saying it is not true by a press release.
Oh.
I think that Reuters reported it. So if there is anything, why don't we also speak to Reuters to show us their evidence? Because if it is not true, then Reuters should retract the story. We should ask Reuters to retract the story, because it is not good for the image of the country.
Okay.
So if it is not true, I believe we cannot just say it is not true, but we should be able to get Reuters. I think the journalists can do that. That is a core news outlet. So Reuters should come and tell us what evidence do they have that for them to write that story about us.
Unfortunately, today we have to cut the news review short. Okay. But before we go, some dedications. First to Afro, former GJA president. Today is your birthday. Happy birthday, sir. We wish you the very best for myself and the entire AM team. And in fact, Joy News, we wish you a happy, glorious birthday. We also have a dedication coming from Papani, my colleague in the newsroom, and this is going out to Benjamin Kuma. This year has been really tough on you, but you have been strong. We pray for strength and grace as you celebrate your birthday. We love you, Benjamin, from your friends and family. Happy birthday, Benjamin. There's also one last one coming from my producer, and I'll get to it in a bit. And it's a dedication also going out to, I'll get to it in a bit. Happy birthday to, the same person, Benjamin Kuma. I says this year has been tough on you. Benjamin, I hope that this new season brings you strength and all that you need to sail through. Happy birthday going out to you. Now we'll take a quick break. Nanaya Achapim Janto, my guest for this morning's news review. Thank you so much for joining us. And we'll take a quick break. We'll return with more on the AM show. Don't go away. Earlier, when we started the news review, brought you that story about Agona West NPP Nasara coordinator allegedly shot in campaign clash at Nyankrom. We have a reporter on with us, Kofi J from Adom, who is going to tell us the story and the details of it. Kofi J, thank you for joining us on the AM show. So what really happened at Nyankrom?
What happened was that Tija Morrison, the MPP, the currently the independent parliamentary candidate, who is a member of parliament, current member of parliament for Agona West, but now was independent candidate after losing election to Chris Atta in last year MPP parliamentary primary. So Tija Morrison was launching her campaign at Agona Yalkom Township, whilst Chris Atta, the MPP parliamentary candidate, and some MPP executives were also at Agona Otenkwan. So after their campaign, they were returning from Agona Otenkwan, a suburb of Agona Yalkom, a village near Agona Yalkom. So they were returning from Agona Otenkwan to Yalkom to engage some community members over there. Immediately, when they reached Agona Yalkom Township, they found out that Tija Morrison and her supporters were launching their campaign, so they have blocked the road. So they decided to find way to pass through them because that's the only way they can. That's the only route or the only way where they can pass. So according to information, according to police source, when Chris Atta and his team reached Aguna Nyanko, where Sinjamoise was launching her campaign, they found out the road has been blocked. So they decided to find a way through. And in the process, there was a scuffle between both supporters and the convoy. And according to police, one of Sinjamoise's supporters poured alcoholic drink to one of the drivers. So the national coordinator get down from the car, try to talk to them because they were all MPP members, and because Sinjamoise was going to independent, so there's a misunderstanding between them. So he get down to talk to them so that they can open the road for them. That is where the incident happened. So in the process, they had gunshots from nowhere, and in the process, the national coordinator was shot in the ribs, and 3 of Sinjamoise supporters were also sustained gunshot wounds. So currently, national coordinator Rashid Aruna has been sent to Kolebu Teaching Hospital because yesterday they sent him to Aguna Government Hospital, but they couldn't. Admitted him there, so he was put in the ambulance and brought to Kolebu Teaching Hospital, while 3 of the Sinjamoise supporters have also been treated at Aguna Health Center.
Kofi, do we know if the police have arrested the perpetrators of this crime?
No. The incident happened around 8:39 p.m. So they haven't made any arrest. Maybe I'll find out this morning. I'm on my way to Aguna. I've just with the Divisional Police Command to ascertain whether they've arrested some of them. But from yesterday to this morning, they haven't arrested anybody.
All right. Kofi, thank you so much. We also have David Esando on the line. He's NPP constituency organizer for Aguna West. David, thank you so much for joining us. You're on the AM show. We are just getting details of the report of what happened yesterday. And what more can you tell us? Have you checked on the people who were shot this morning? How are they faring?
Yes, thank you, Madam, and for a gracious morning. With respect to what happened yesterday in the evening, 8 o'clock to 9, our Nasara coordinator, who's in charge of mobilization in the Zongo communities in Aguna West, was shot by people supposedly coming from the camp of Honorable Sinjamoise. We went for electoral area campaign launch at Aguna Osae-Kwapong. Aguna Osae-Kwapong, if you're coming from Aguna Swedro, you have to use a route through Aguna Nyanko, through to Osae-Kwapong. So we were there from 1 o'clock and left around 6:30, 7 o'clock. To our surprise, we met a rally at the only Fort Johnson in Aguna Nyanko. Aguna Nyanko has 2 entry points. The first entry point, which is supposed to be the main entry point, has a broken bridge that is under construction by the NPP government. So there's only one route that is remaining. And that one route, you approach a Fort Johnson. It is on the Fort Johnson that the supposed rally by the current MP as an independent candidate is also holding a rally. So we were approached for the first time, and the police directed us to use a different route. So we came through and parked at Cocoa Shed, a Sando House, Cocoa Shed. It is at that juncture the police gave us 15 to 20 minutes. After the 20 minutes, they paved way for us to exit from Aguna Yokum to the crowd. Now, after moving from the junction and going forward through to the mini bridge, that is where our first car, that's the PC and his team were seated in, had to stop. And the national coordinator stepped out of the car because they were beating the cars with sticks and then pouring alcohol on our drivers and insulting us mercilessly. So therefore, he got down. Once he got down, the two boys, but they are unknown as of now.
David, let me take you back a little bit. Exactly why did the coordinator get out of the car in the first instance?
They were hitting the car. They were hitting all the cars with sticks. That is why the driver stopped to check who are doing those things. We were not even closer to the scene. We were going, but they were lying on the roadside, just raining insults and unprintable words against us, but we were in a car. It is never like a class, like the pre-6 team and then the independent team were in a class. It never happened like that. I have videos that I can send to your producer that you can just display on the TV for the live podcast. It is never like we were in a banter or we were in a chaotic instances, no. But rather we were all in our car. But the P6 car, Haruna got down from the car to approach the guys to find out what they are doing this thing to us. And then the gun shot happened. And he sustained over 6 bullets through the chest and the stomach.
When you say the gunshot happened, who fired the shots first?
There was only one sound. There was only one sound. The 2 people who were hitting the car when the national coordinator got down are the prime suspects, and they are on errands. They are far away, and they are being looked.
That means you don't know for sure if they are the ones who fired the shots.
You see, at the instances, the independent candidate, Honorable Cynthia Morrison, was on her car campaigning and even inciting the people against the precinct. He was even praising that kind of act that must not find its place in our modern democracy, Ghana and Aguna West. These are things that has been happening for the last 8 years. That is giving detriment to the development of Aguna West. Aguna West is the biggest of all to give MPP votes. We need to protect the seat. Why Cynthia Morrison? Everything Cynthia Morrison. This canker.
David, we are trying to get Cynthia Morrison's side, a representative, someone to also tell us their side of the story. But are you saying that they were celebrating or encouraging this?
Yes, she was standing on her car, encouraging and celebrating this matter. That should not find its place in our modern politics. And this is not for the first time. Now, I have worked with Cynthia Morrison for over 2 good years. This is not how she is. Now, she's trying to change to a different thing, an inhuman character.
Well, we will have to confirm. We would have to confirm all those when we get to their side to also respond to the situation. But how is the health of those who were affected?
For me, I don't even know any other person who got injured because we were never in a class. But what I know is that with government hospital, as at around 1 o'clock, transferred Mr. Haruna Rashid after removing some of the gunshot to the Legon Medical Center. As at now, we spoke with him and he is under a good, stable condition. We are praying and asking for prayers for our parliamentary candidate, Mr. Chris Atta, and our national coordinator, Honorable Haruna Rashid Osman.
Have you heard from party leadership so far?
Yes, our regional chairman has been so good. Robert Kutin Jr., all the regional executives, they are with us, the communications director, the secretary. In fact, it is a region that made preparation for the transfer of ambulance to the Legon Medical Center. In fact, we have a solid backing, and I know that under the auspices of Robert Kutin Jr., we are going to win more seats, at least 19 seats for the glory of NPP, and win 19 seats or 20 and more for Dr. Alhaji Muhammadu Bawumia.
David Esando, thank you so much. We are still trying to... we actually have Kofi Osae on the line, and he speaks for Cynthia Morrison. Kofi, thank you for joining us. So we understand that there was really no clash. It's just people who were pelting or throwing things at the cars, and that caused the driver to get out, and then the altercation ensued. What is your side of the story? What happened?
Good morning, my sister.
Good morning.
Hello.
We can hear you. Yes, go ahead.
So I want to speak to you. So
go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, campaign. Aguna West. Aguna YouTube. And fruit. The fruit ni muna na yung say Aguna West MPP PC in executive. And then go for the car. Baby fruit. Police stop them still. And one mama crime one be baby fruit no one coin. And chen one say one chibium. And the police catch us. I didn't baby fruit na one do car baby trim. Almost time one crime one do car ni be trim. Just about 3 minutes. And it is a 2 akasa. Young for me and sa womuka fruit na ye no baba ko mema mi no any 2 ni ka wo. I do mo eko nyekrum clinic. Anye ye ni do mo ba Swedro hospital. And ye discharge me no na ka ba ko.
Now, Kofi, why not 2 no?
Mami, ye nim baby a 20 fibaye.
So,
ye nim baby a 20 fibaye. And this how you need a buy.
So, do you call hospital? I didn't see it.
If you don't call hospital, then run at 12 something, no. Almost discharging me, no, na car back. Yamia do the plane away. It's Abaniano, you say your fruit near ya, campaign. But you need to be 20 fibaya, a 2 year, and this how you know cry at the buy.
Yeah, we just spoke to David Esando. He is the NPP constituency organizer for Aguna West. And I will say, at the time, altercation no air no. Cynthia Morrison in Crawford, they were rejoicing and they were encouraging what had happened. Did you actually see that happen?
Adamami, yeah, fruit. I have born Germany and the uncle water. And yeah, the only way you near yasi. And your party fruit. And a mamma organize your yay. In say, I didn't know for some Germany.
It's and now all more rejoicing, more floats near rejoicing than not more yet that.
Yeah, float and comfort. In January, a 2 Mammy, a 2 and comfort energy. And penny for the boo, but say 2 most. It's meaning baby a 2 back to a nipper ebesre. It's a baby plan to say 2. A train, a shot as a cabin amount for down. So be uncle fee, or be unfair, because he has to say 2. It's a idea to 2 years and for 4 years. Float na ye no, and then na woman year will be a.
Now, is there any sort of message coming from Cynthia Morrison this morning? What is she saying? How is she doing though? You know,
yeah, they are police because police may investigation. Was the lim baby choir a 25 by. Indeed, and police commander who are going to come in and in the police phone and their boy and by an accident this year. You're in the call near from clinic or Papa on chair even 11:30 p.m. Now, and Sana, you referred to my bus doing the police commander and any police going away and saying, indeed. A 2020 in Shimuni idea, a were pretty fun.
Yo, that's a sound Akasawa Kofi. Okay, so he's basically retelling the story of how they were already having a float, campaign activities ahead of December elections, and the people from that is the NPP side, that is the independent candidate, I think is Chris, yes. They were rerouted by the police to come and, pass through where the float was going on about 2 or 3 times. And then 3 minutes after, they came back and they realized that there were gunshots. So they can also not confirm who exactly fired those shots. But this is the result that we are seeing this morning. And we'll continue to bring you updates and details as the story unfolds. But as we speak, all those who were affected are getting medical attention. The police are involved. They're trying to find those who actually, fired those shots and put lives in danger. Thank you so much for staying with us on this. There's still a lot more coming your way on the AM show. You want to stick with us? We'll be right back.
Time now to bring you sports here on the AM show with me, Muftaro Nabila Abdullah. It was a weekend of fun, a weekend of relationship building, a weekend of networking at the University of Ghana Stadium and this year's Joy Sports Invitational Tournament which took place on Saturday. About 15 sporting disciplines were competed for. And guess what? It was MPA that led the way by winning 4 gold medals. Let's bring you some of the events that happened on Saturday.
Kick number 4. Is he able to do 3 perfect? 1, 2, 3. Salt mine, 41,000 acres of salt. But can he do it here at the penalty spot? 1. And it's out. Mr. Johnson Todd. Can he live up to his dedicated jersey and a Nike jersey? Is it going in? And he misses. So do it. Is he
IS Evolution Consult Chief Executive Officer Divine Tay won the CEO penalty shootout, and he says he worked for it. Also, the Chief Executive Officer of Aramex, Mr. Laban Abdul, he also won the silver medal in the CEO penalty shootout. He says next year they will be back stronger.
I think earlier on I told you during your visit the last time that we've gone to a hideout training seriously for this. We said we were going to win everything, but unfortunately it didn't go well in the football. So we determined that we are going to win this because we've been practicing this for so many times.
How will you describe the event so far? Has it been fun for you?
Yes, it's been very interesting for us. This is our first time, so I think it's been fun from the very beginning up to now.
What next should we be expecting from IS Evolution?
I think from what we do, we are a company that deals with data analytics. So just expect that all the other events that we are going to do, we are going to analyze every opponent carefully, and then all the other trophies that are still outstanding, we will still try and then win all of them before the close of this event.
The final comment just before I let you go, what message do you have to potential partners of IS Evolution?
So I think with IS Evolution, what we do, we are a technology firm. Our main specialty is into data analytics and then audit management solution. And we are the sole distributor of Ability's data analytics within the West African sub-region. So every partner that is, we are very open to anybody who wants to do business with us. We work with the banks, insurance, any other sector. We just need to, that needs to automate their processes, whether data analytics or audit management. So we are very open to receiving everybody on board.
Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
And I've also been joined by the Chief Executive Officer of Aramex Ghana, and in fact, there's no loser in this one, but he won silver, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, first, thank you for this event. It was amazing. We need to just highlight on something. The youth generation has some great passion, and we need to keep it up. The Ghanaian people deserve this, and this is very important. So thank you for doing it. This is first. Second, we just need to know that We need to thank everyone who joined this. We need to let you know that Aramex, we are a group of professional people specializing in freight forwarding and international express, and especially in shopping services, which now the world is all connecting. Imagine you are in Ghana now. You don't need headache anymore to shop from USA and then ship to Ghana. We make it happen. So please, guys, we need you. We need your help. We need your support, and we need your passion to promote this to the next generation so that they build a better Ghana. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hopefully we'll be seeing you next year again in the next edition of the Joy Sports Invitational Tournament.
We will win next time. We will win next time.
And I wish you good luck.
Thank you.
Aramex Ghana, they say Delivery Unlimited, and the Chief Executive Officer, he won the silver medal in the Joy Sports Invitational Penalty Shootout for Chief Executive Officers.
FM. Ladies and gentlemen, would like to welcome the CEO and reps of our sponsors, Skechers, to join us here. Please do a big round of applause for them as we get ourselves ready to appreciate our CEOs who took part in the CEOs Penalty Shootout competition. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm great, I'm great. Tell me about the experience of being part of this as a sponsor and what you've seen so far.
Oh, this is very energetic. So much energy going on. Everyone is so energetic. I see people running, playing volleyball, basketball. I saw a lady the other day, she was just running. I'm like, oh my God, I can't even do this. It's great. It's a great opportunity. Well done.
Thank you very much. And tell me what package you've got for our winner and our runner-up in the CEO's Penalty Shootout.
Oh, perfect. So we have a 2,000 Ghana cedis voucher for our first position for the CEO Penalty Shootout. And then we have this bag, it's a gym bag. We have this gym bag with a gym bottle. Let me show you what it looks like. So a gym water bottle sponsored by Skechers. And then we have the gym face towel. Because yes, if you're going to be playing penalty shootout, you need to work out. Yeah. So we have Skechers here also. And these are all the goodies that's going. And then for the second place, we have 1,000 cedis worth of gift card, which you could use here. We have a stand over there. So please make sure you come shop with your gift card or else it expires. Is he gonna do it? Is he gonna do it?
Is our champion. Please do a big round of applause for him. And now, ladies and gentlemen,
let's bring you some more highlights of some of the events that took place at the Joy Sports Invitational. MPA, they won the table tennis for both men and women. The lawn tennis was won by MPA as well, and the tug of pace that also happened at the Joy Sports Invitational Tournament.
Dan one Danny, I met destroy one man, Danny, bra. I wouldn't have made you better with you. Back on, we are in
Now let's hear from MPA. They won 4 gold medals at the Joy Sports Invitational Tournament 2024. And also, we'll be hearing from Apex Bank. They won 5 medals, 3 of which were silver medals.
Medal table, please put your hands together for NPA! The National Petroleum Authority winning the overall champions at the Joy Sports Invitational. Congratulations to you.
Did you see this coming?
Yes, we saw it coming from the beginning, right from the beginning. We were prepared for this.
We didn't only see it, we knew it was coming. What was that special thing you did?
Well, we take sports seriously because sports helps us in our corporate world. So for us, sports is part of our culture. Sports is part of our DNA. And therefore, whenever we participate, we know that victory is going to be ours.
And indeed, victory was yours. Let me come to see. You've just been smiling as though you've just... I can imagine how excited you are.
Yeah, of course I'm excited among the disappointments and everything. But then we finally got the main trophy. That means among all things, we are still considered the best. So that was what we came for, and we had the best. Even though we were disappointed in some few competitions, at least we won the main thing. So that's the excitement. At least the first edition of the Joy Sports, we are the invitational competition, we are the defending champions and the first champions as well. So next year we are definitely coming back to defend.
Stronger.
Next year at least we should take 5 gold medals, at least. And other categories we should place second, silver and bronze. So next year we are coming back.
How has it been for you?
Oh, it was very exciting. Very, very exciting. We didn't expect it to be as exciting as it was. But then, Joy FM as usual, anything they put together, it comes big. And we didn't expect this, but then it was exciting. Thank you.
Congratulations.
To visit our bank, our MD made you a promise. Do you remember?
I remember that.
Yes, how we have trained and the fact that we are going to win a lot of medals. Being first timers is not easy. But then, God on our side, we did the best.
I remember you saying we shouldn't underrate you. I remember when you were in the middle cheering.
Joke. And that's
where your exact words.
Didn't I say that? Watch us, watch us. So today you saw it. It was evident in everything that we did, right? Let me just say one thing. We didn't hire anybody. It's an organic, homegrown people. We didn't hire anybody. So we have done very well. In fact, you should even have given us an award because being the first timers. Hey, who gets all this?
How many medals do you want?
5. But next time, we promise you. This place will not contain us, so better look for a bigger stadium. This place will not contain us.
Talk to me about the experience. How was it?
It was fantastic. In fact, very energetic, and we loved it. In fact, we didn't hire anybody at all. We have come as Apex team, and we have won the medals. We have won the gold. We did one. In fact, we deserve the praise.
Patrick, I heard you people say you are going to bring all the 144 branches. You have 147 branches, right? And about 8 million customers you have to come and throw their weight behind you. How proud are you to have made them happy by winning this?
In fact, as first timers, what we have done, 5 medals, 3 gold, 1 silver, and 1 bronze. We are in a comfortable league. We are assuring you that next year, we are bringing the rural banks on board physically. This time they were with us in the spirit. But next year, they are coming physically. So just expect something massive from Apex Bank. Like Madam said, the rural banks will be coming here next year. So get a bigger stadium, because this one cannot contain us.
Congratulations, congratulations, congratulations.
Bright Company Limited, they won the football competition, and it was Emigo Ghana, producers of Yomi Yogurt. They came second, and the Chief Executive Officer of Yomi Yogurt, Stephen Eku, has decided to donate his monthly salary for October to his staff for finishing second in the football competition. And also, the multimedia group has also given about 560,000 Ghana cedis worth of airtime to all participants in the Joy Sports Invitational Tournament 2024, and they can redeem that within the first quarter of 2025 to promote their activities and also advertise other events that they have got. Now, the Black Satellites, they have qualified to the CAF Under-20 African Cup of Nations that will be happening in South Africa next year. They secured a 2-1 win in their game against Cote d'Ivoire. And then we'll also wrap up with highlights of matches that were played in the Premier League. That's AM Sports for now. We do have more sports stories on myjoyonline.com.
Welcome back on the AM show. We get into our big stories, and over the weekend we heard some unsavory news from the Boku area. Police and military personnel moved in to bring the situation under control following rising tensions in Boku and its environs in an unending chieftaincy dispute that is now costing lives and leading to the loss of property. Well, let's get into the issue as we actually bring into the conversation Dr. Victor Doki. He's a lecturer at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. We'll also be hearing from the spokesperson for the Boku Naba. But let's start with Dr. Doki. A very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
I am very well. It's good to have you join the conversation. Let's start from the top. How much have you garnered as far as this situation is concerned by way of information, and what do you make of it? What are you processing in your mind on the back of these developments?
Right. Thank you very much. So with regards to the first question, I think I have spoken to very reliable sources with regards to the situation. One, the Seidu, who sometime back last year, February, was inducted as the Boku Naba far away in Naralegu by the king of the Maputo Kingdom. Now, he is in Boku, and that has sparked this violence armed confrontation between the two sides, the Mamfusi and the Kusasi. Now, the other information I gather is there's a big disappointment with regards to the security apparatus in the area, the military, the police, who are disappointed that this incident has occurred. So it means that most of what happened occurred on their blind side. There was no information as to what exactly went on. For this set Seidu has been brought in. Now, what I also know is that
just to clarify, Dr. Doki, you say it's a big disappointment on the part of the police?
Yes, for the security services there. That's what I gathered. That they are disappointed. One, that this set Seidu, with regards to the issue about litigation and then the arrest warrant, and then how he has been brought in to the area, which is already volatile and now has escalated tensions.
So you're talking about you're talking about the other chief who supposedly had been skinned,
yes.
And then there was an uproar. Then he had to be kept outside of the area, and now he's been, so to speak, smuggled back in. That's what you're talking about.
Exactly. And this has, caused the recurrence of armed violence we are experiencing now. And for what I process with regards to this, sometime back, I think I was speaking to one of your sister stations, and I made it very emphatically clear that this said gentleman should not be allowed to come into Boko. Otherwise, we're going to have confrontations. And this is exactly what is happening. So we would going to have or experience these confrontations until the said Seidu, if he is in Boko, is out of that area. You will not have the Kusasis comfortable for a rival chief, so to speak, in the same jurisdiction. Then this is what we are going to experience if it is not cared down going to December. And there are a lot of scenarios I'm playing in my mind now, which I'll come to it. Scenario one, what is going to happen when a state of emergency is declared in Boko?
You know what, Dr. Doki, before you get into the scenarios, let me just bring this into the picture. Do you know the circumstances under which this person, Seidu, was brought back into the jurisdiction? We've heard a number of things unconfirmed, and so I cannot spew those here. But per what you have found out, do you know the circumstances under which purportedly he got back into Boku and why that may have happened, knowing very well that it could spark what it has sparked now?
So what I know, also as you rightly said, and unconfirmed, is that this sort of, let me put it in quotes, operation of bringing Seidu back in Boku was done undercover, done by very experienced people who knew the terrain, who knew the operations of the security apparatus and their modus operandi in Boku area. And that is how come this operation or activity went on undetected, smooth and finalized. And this is what we are experiencing for what has happened.
Was this, per your information, was this conducted by civilians or the security services?
Now, honestly speaking, from what I gathered, this was a mix of civilians and some security apparatus. But whether they are from the state security or not, that is what I have to reconfirm.
I see. You can go ahead to your 3 points now.
So, scenario one, we are going to likely have a state of emergency declared in Boko because obviously the curfews aren't doing any good. And when that happens, scenario two will play out, being that once there's a state of an emergency in Boko, we are trying to get Seidu out for peace to prevail, for calm to be restored. And then what will happen going to December 7th? Are the people of Boko going to be disenfranchised because of the tensions there? If Seidu is out by then we're going to have elections in Boko. If not, then you are sure to say or conclude or project that elections in Boko may not come up because of the tensions in there.
And that in itself could lead to a further escalation there, wouldn't it?
It could lead to
if the people feel disenfranchised.
Exactly. Now you're looking at who benefits from this chaos and who doesn't. Okay, and the perception we have is the Upper East or Boko itself, the Kusasis are aligned to the NDC. Majority of them are aligned to the NDC, and the majority of the Makusis are aligned to the NPP. So technically, you would realize and come to conclusions that the NDC may not benefit if a state of emergency is declared in Boko.
I see. Looking at all these dynamics, however, how much of it could have been prevented? You talk about the fact that per information you're getting from the grapevine, it could have been a mix of security personnel. We don't know whether it was official security personnel and civilians mixed, getting Seidu back into the jurisdiction. This has been an issue that we've looked at, knowing the tensions in the area. But what security lapses would you attribute to this happening? Because we all knew that once this happened, there will be repercussions, and now we're there, we are facing them.
Exactly. So what I take from the security lapses is, number one, there is a big gap, big challenge with regards to intelligence. Now, if Seidu was out of Boko until now, I'm sure and certain that he must have been monitored. His movements must have been monitored by the intelligence bureaus and the security services. Now, how come if he wasn't, right? How come the security services lost track of Seidu for him to come to Boko? That's the one big failure. In intelligence, there wasn't enough intelligence, and that caused this kind of situation. Number two, if you have the military and the police, enforcing curfews, periodically going on patrols, who have taken authority over areas of confrontation between these two sides, then you are rest assured that they would know the flashpoints of engagement, and they would quickly, once hearing that Seidu is in town, take positions in those areas. And that didn't happen. Number three, with regards to how much we are going to look at spending in Boko, and already we know about some 6 million that is being gone into peace building mechanisms, approaches in Boko. So there are a lot of questions. Are there people benefiting? Are stakeholders benefiting from this chaos in Boko?
Those are the questions in there to be looked at. Please hold for me, Dr. Doki. Let me also bring in Maxwell Agambila. He's a lawyer and he speaks for the Boko Naba. Mr. Agambila, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, sir. My name is Agbambila, not Agambila.
Agbambila. Well, my apologies. There's Agambila as well.
Thank you.
I guess I mixed it up. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Agbambila. What is the reaction? What is the thinking of the Boko Naba on the back of these developments? How did he feel when he heard that supposedly Seidu was back in town?
Well, good morning once again. The Boko Naba obviously is saddened by the chaos in Boko, and more so the loss of innocent lives from both sides. And we think that this is completely avoidable. This ought not to have happened. But if you look at the trajectory of events that led to the return of Mr. Abagre to Boko, you would see that it is either somebody is complicit or somebody is benefiting from this unfortunate loss of life and limb. Otherwise, an arrest warrant was placed on his head. His lawyers went to court to try to get it rescinded or revoked. At the High Court, they were not successful. The Attorney General was represented by lawyers. They saw clearly what the arguments of the man were. Then they appealed to the Court of Appeal in Kumasi. We are told that the Attorney General didn't even put in a response. So the Court of Appeal had no choice but to revoke the arrest warrant. I personally went to see the Attorney General himself about it. What we were told is that they had appealed. the ruling of the Court of Appeal in part. Then a day or two later, we are told that they are passing their. And between those hours when we are trying to make sense of why they are suddenly passing that, we were told that they do have to into town and carried himself up as the chief sitting in state, and there was a lot of drumming and dancing there.
Do you know the circumstances under which Seydou got back into town? Do you know who brought him back into town?
Sorry?
Do you know the circumstances under which Seydou got back into Boku? Do you know who brought him into Boku?
I cannot say for sure, but given the situation in Boku, it is obvious that he did get some sort of security protection in order to get into Boku. That is very obvious. I don't want to engage in conjecture in the TSC, but from our side, we are very sure that he did get some security protection getting into Boku. And that's so unfortunate. I mean, you cannot lose a single life because one man says he wants to be a chief. I have graphic images and videos of people who are being killed like animals because one person says he wants to be chief. And the whole republic is sitting there and just looking on whilst we slaughter each other. It's not fair.
But
the Attorney General could have simply reissued another arrest warrant, even if the court revoked it. They didn't do that. They abandoned the appeal.
Are you blaming the Attorney General for this?
Of course, it's a text of the flag. Because I told him, look, even when he mounted the appeal, I took the view that, look, I concede your legal prowess. If you appeal, you are just going to demonstrate that the Court of Appeal judges erred. In the meantime, we are trying to save life and limb. So it's a simple procedure. Issue another warrant. I don't know who he took instructions from. I don't know the legal basis for the abandonment of the appeal. What I do know is that as we speak, a minimum of 15 people have lost their lives. And the place is still volatile.
And of course, this is a situation.
One man. Never been paramount chief of the traditional area for 40 good years.
Got what?
Say again.
You say he lost what?
I'm saying that for my information, we have currently lost a minimum of 15 people in Boku.
15?
And some are being slaughtered in Wale.
I see.
And this ought not to have happened because of an individual. And I was trying to make the point that, look, the Zuguran Boku Naba has been paramount chief of the Boku area for 40 years. If anybody thinks that he ought not to be the proper chief of Boku, there are state institutions to go to make your case. How do you sit there and have power to inskin, but you don't have power to deskin? If you have power to inskin a chief of Boku, you should have power to remove the one who is there. And you ignore all of that and plunge all of us into this chaos. And government is looking on whilst we tear each other apart, whilst we slaughter each other.
Okay, so let me just let me just
no-go area because they are stopping buses in Wale, inspecting ID cards. And if they find that you are a Kusaksi man, they slaughter you. I have videos. I can share them with you.
All right. So I mean, you say government is just looking on, but we know the police. There's a joint police and military, intervention in Boku. Right before you take leave of us, there was also that roadblock that was mounted on the Bolga Wale Tamale stretch, which also led to some incidents, cars being stopped, people, losing their lives and all that. I have Dr. Victor Doki on the line who says that maybe one of the actions would be a state of emergency. What would be your reaction to that if a state of emergency is declared?
It will be unfortunate because in my very humble but firm view, a state of emergency ought not to be declared in the Boku area because of one man. We all know where the problem is coming from. Let's deal with it.
Okay.
There is a legitimate chief of Boku. Seydou Abagre is an imposter. He ought not to allow people to be losing their lives because he wants to be a chief. He is sitting in Baku, cutting himself out as a chief. And it's full of incensing people. We all had the problem. Let's deal with the problem. I beg you.
Okay.
It's not a question of state of emergency.
Maxwell.
So we know where the problem is.
All right, Maxwell, thank you very much for joining the conversation. Maxwell Agbambila speaks for the Boku Naba. Let me just let those of you watching know that we also attempted speaking to the other side. We've not been successful thus far. That is why you may not have heard that we have spoken to the Seidu side or the others on the other side. Of course, these would be the Kusasis. And then on the other side, we'll be talking about the Mamprusis. So it's not intentional. We're just trying to get, and if we do get a representative from that end to speak to, we shall bring the person into the conversation. Dr. Doki, you have the final word. Having heard from what you've seen, the visuals, the intel, and now from what you've heard from Maxwell Agbambila, who speaks for the Boku Naba, what would be your parting shots, your parting words?
Well, I would say, number one, for us to have calm in Boku, state security should try, I use the word try, because it would have oppositions to take Seidu out of that area.
Right.
Until that is done, we are sure, we won't have any kind of calm restored, because the Kusasi will not like it that the so-called rival chief is there, okay, competing with the Boku Naba currently, who is a Kusasi. Number two, let's get the Interior Minister, the National Security couple, to issue a statement and come out, issue a statement. Now, what with regards to litigation, I heard the lawyer saying that you reissue an arrest warrant. Let the litigation process also be reenacted and then get this gentleman out of that area. Now, lastly, what I would say is we should have security forces in vital areas, as mentioned in Waliwali and other areas, okay, to counter these illegal roadblocks or checkpoints that have been put up, okay, by these guys, and then maiming innocent citizens. Let's deal with those ones and then now come back to the negotiation table and then iron out the necessary issues with regards to who is the rightful owner of the Boku skin.
Dr. Doki, thank you so much for joining this conversation. That was Dr. Victor Doki. He's a lecturer at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. We also had Maxwell Agbambila, a lawyer who speaks for the Boku Naba. Like I mentioned, we extended a hand. We tried to hear from the Mamprusi end as well, because there's always, there are always two sides to look at when it comes to these conversations. And as and when we do, we shall bring that person into a future conversation as well. Stay with us, though. We still have a lot coming your way. There's the latest Afro Barometer release or report on trust corruption ahead of election 2024. Let's take a break. We'll be back with more action. Welcome back on the AM show. We get now into that latest round of Afro Barometer surveys and what the events as far as trust ahead of election 2024, corruption, among others, are concerned. We also know that trust in government institutions have dwindled, with the police service and office of the presidency perceived to be the most corrupt in the 2024 Afro Barometer survey. We'll bring you details of that as we are also joined by CDD fellow Dr. John Osae-Kwapong. But before we come into the studio, let's look at some of the details of what this latest round of Afro Barometer surveys had revealed to us. We'll take a quick swipe at that, but before it's ready, Dr. John Osae-Kwapong, good morning. Thank you for joining the conversation.
Thank you. My pleasure.
And of course, I have my in-house guest, my personal guest. This morning, Sweetie Abochi. You know, when all fails, I have you as a guest. It's always good.
Take us back, but those visuals I saw, it's unsettled me a bit. The visuals
Baku,
of the killing.
the Baku situation.
I wish there was a way I can forget it. It's just...
No, do you know what? I started and stopped. I didn't... It's not that I have a heart for watching these, but for some reason, I just didn't want to watch.
Oh.
I mean, why do we get to this point? And I don't know where. It's a very tricky, it's flammable, so you need to know how to talk about it, because sometimes if you mention an angle, someone thinks you are supporting the Kusasi end. If you mention this angle, someone thinks you are supporting the Mampusi end. Do you know what I feel to be the major problem?
What?
The fact that politics is in there.
Oh, yeah.
MPP, NDC politics.
Yeah.
That is what is making it...
Right back here to the Afro Barometer report.
Making it very problematic. But let's get into that report now and look at some of what it reveals. So if you look at the evaluation of government's performance in fighting corruption, you would see the red line having to do with performing fairly or very badly, and the yellow line suggesting fairly or very well. Now, if you look at 2012, you look at the fairly or very badly. So let me just focus on very badly or very well. 56% very badly and 44% very well. Those were the projections. Now, over time, very badly shot up to 74% in 2014, then came down to 33% in 2017. So on the back of 2016, by 2017, it was at 33%. But look at where it has shot up to now. Performing fairly or very badly, 85% in 2022, 82% in 2024. If you look at the reverse side, from 44% in 2012, you would see that in 2016, it dwindled even further when it comes to performing very well to 26%, which is natural because badly was at 74%. And now, very well or fairly well is at 14% in 2022 and 16% in 2024. So it tells you that as far as government's performance in dealing with corruption is concerned, there are major issues. But how about the perceived corruption among tax officials, police, judges, magistrates, among others? If you look at tax officials, you would see a trend. 2008, 57%. And it has held steady between 57 and 60-something%. Currently, it stands at 63%. That is tax officials. How about judges and magistrates? You remember number 12, right? So it started from 34% in 2008, then rose to quite a high in 2017, 51%, but not the highest. You find the highest, interestingly, actually that's the highest. I was looking at the 53%. So that's the highest in 2017. Then in 2024, it has reduced by some 7 percentage points to 44%. So that is it when it comes to judges and magistrates. It means that for judges and magistrates, it peaked at 53% in 2014. It's now at 44%. Then you look at the Ghana Police Service or the police. So I think I may have mixed the colors. So the first one, tax officials, is rather the one at the bottom, right? And the police service, rather, is the one that is the very highest one. That is red. That is what has moved from 57 to 63%. But the tax officials are the ones that have moved from 34% to 44%. So even there's an increment. It means that for the Ghana Police Service, it has increased when it comes to corruption from 57% to 63%, though there was a high of 68% in 2014. Then you look at the tax officials. There too, there's an increment from 34% to 44% currently. And then judges and magistrates looking at, again, 34% in 2008, now standing at 44%. It actually means that on all three fronts, police, tax officials, judges, and magistrates, there have been increments when it comes to corruption. But if you look at the level of corruption, again, looking at the different strata, increased somewhat or a lot, stayed the same, and then decreased somewhat. I'm going to start from decreased somewhat because there you want to look at it and see what trend there is. It stood at 8% in 2014, rose to about 36% in 2017, and then the dwindling started. From 2017, there was a decline in 2019 to 19%, in 2022 to 6%, and then in 2024 to 7%. That means that the level of corruption dwindling, or the perception that it is dwindling, is also dwindling. In other words, there is a rise. So then if you look at staying the same and what the thinking is, It has moved from 8% to 24% to 19% to 15% in 2022, and now to 16%. So averagely, there's, if you look at it, you're looking at about maybe 20% in terms of average figures. But where the meat is, where there's supposed to be an increment, increase somewhat or a lot, you see there was a sharp decline from 2014, 83%, to 2017, 39%. But guess what? In recent years, it has risen to similar figures that we saw in 2014. You see 77% in 2022, 74% in 2024. And maybe to cap it off, or maybe some of the final slides we'll look at, who is corrupt? Ghana 2024. Respondents were asked, let me just go there. How many of the following people do you think are involved in corruption? Or haven't you heard enough about them to say? And guess what? The highest, 63%, the police service. And if you look at it, those who are saying most or all of them, that is 63%. And some of them, 31%. So those are the different variations. The police topped, at least as far as most or all of them are concerned, with 63%. 31% is not the highest for some of them, but if you do the tally, then you realize that they come out tops. Interestingly, next in line, Office of the Presidency. Most or all of them are corrupt. 54% responded yes, and then some of them, 36%. And it goes on from there. So police, Office of the Presidency, tax officials are next. That's a very interesting one. Tax officials, what's going on there? Then members of parliament. If you look at it, you're already seeing the executive in there. You are seeing the legislature in there, in the top what? Top 4. And guess what? Top 5. The judges and magistrates are also there. 44% saying most or all of them are corrupt. Opposition parties should hold government accountable versus cooperate. There are different dimensions to that as well. But we'll get into other details. I don't know, sweetie, what do you make of this league log, ignominious league log? You don't want to be on this league log.
We'll come to Dr. John Osae-Kwapong in a bit, but I just see that if this was a marriage between Ghana as citizens and then our leaders, those who occupy these institutions,
divorce straight
away, because
straight up
no
divorce.
Trust. The foundation of trust is absolutely broken. It's every institution there. But let's throw it to Dr. John Osae-Kwapong. Doc, what do you make of this?
Good morning once again. So the trust question is one of my biggest worries, right? And you see trust dwindling over time. Now you're talking about precisely, and you're talking about the key institutions that make democracy work. The last thing you want is your citizens losing trust in key institutions. So take the courts, for example. This is an institution that plays a critical role in resolving disputes, interpreting the law, all of those things. So imagine if I cannot trust the court and I have a dispute with my fellow citizen. It means that I may seek alternative methods to resolve that kind of dispute. And if I am not careful, I may draw on methods that may not be very healthy. What makes it even more concerning for me is that, on the issue of trust is also the increased perception of corruption in these institutions. Yeah. So it's a twin recipe for me, an unhealthy place for our institutions to be in. If you look at the perceptions of corruption, you're talking about your 3 key arms of government being in the top 5 perceived corrupt institutions. That combination is really not a healthy recipe. And so
you're not trusted, and you're also deemed to be highly corrupt.
Exactly. And so then the key things that you are supposed to do in our democracy or our democratic architecture, citizens are even beginning to, lose that faith. I mean, I really call this a crisis of confidence in our institutions.
It's also interesting, though, that talking about trust, that the Ghana Armed Forces, rather, is the most, or one of the most trusted institutions that we have. Is this in any way spell, or does it predict that people are gradually leaning towards or might prefer military rule as compared to democracy? Because democracy and the institutions that are supposed to be spearheading democratic development of this country have lost trust.
I wouldn't take it as far as it's a support then for that. I say that because the round 10 results on the extent to which we reject military rule is not yet out. But at least as of round 9, almost 70% said they strongly reject military rule. But I think what is also happening is that we are not seeing the kind of issues, concerns that has been engulfing these other institutions, engulf the military. I mean, apart from, I mean, the most recent one I can think of is, I think, the Ashama incident, right? But most of the time, they are really not in the news for some of these issues that, let's say...
from time to time, some of those issues pop up. But I think what we're seeing may not necessarily, like you said, the last survey points to the fact that across Africa, the levels of tolerance of military rule are getting higher, while the levels of appreciation of what boons democracy brings are lowering. That is especially so in some of the Sahel areas and some of the cool leading areas. But I think it may boil down to the perceived discipline of the military and the fact that people are not seeing them taking bribes and all of that, rather than a preference for military rule. Vis-a-vis the fact that, there is always the thinking that, even these people have taken a bribe, that's why they voted this way or did this and that. I think.
Right, and the other thing I would also add is, so if you look at the Afro Barometer across the countries that have participated, in round 9, a question was asked, should the military intervene in the event that power is being abused? You have a slight majority saying yes. But so there's this tension, I think, going on in the minds of African citizens, because in round 10, the 14 countries whose data is available, when they are asked in the event that there's a military intervention, what should be the response? And almost about 60% say we should return to civilian rule. So there seemed to be this tension going on in their heads about, we really prefer civilian rule. Some days, if there's abuse of power, maybe the military should get in, but still the preference overall is for...
But you can't eat your cake and have it. And we see that in some of the countries that have gone the military way, where now, the military regimes are extending their terms and all that, and we don't see any end in sight. So those are problems.
Should we move the conversation forward to views on election? Because it's a critical point for us. It's just 40 days.
But maybe before we get to the views on the elections, as far as the CDD is concerned, the Afro Barometer and all of that, the fact that in your top 5, you're seeing such crucial institutions, and again, the 3 arms of government are in there. And consistently, we've seen a trend where the 3 arms of government are in the top tier of this league. Where does that leave us in terms of our institutions, in terms of democracy itself, and maybe ahead of election 2024, where Sweetie wants to head towards?
So for me, at some point, our institutions would have to recognize that this is a growing problem. Sometimes I feel like, because even in the midst of this mistrust and high perceptions of corruption, the institutions seem to still be functioning, that perhaps it hasn't reached that critical
juncture. It's like a car. It's not broken down yet. So
it can get me from point A to point B. So, I mean, there's an interesting book we read in graduate school called Africa Works. And in there, the authors are arguing that, yes, there is corruption. Yes, our institutions are weak. But there's something instrumental about them that they still function. And so maybe it's not as dire as we think. But for me, the question is, at what point do you actually say this has reached that tipping point that we really need to do something about it? And for me, 2024 is a reinforcement of the fact that the custodians of these institutions must start asking themselves, what is it that we do or do not do that is letting the public feel this way about us, and what do we need to do going forward? Because we can't keep seeing this trend and not do anything about it. And it's not just Afro Barometer picking up some of these issues
Yeah.
is you follow a lot of the governance and democracy indices, you would actually realize that there are some key points of vulnerability across our democracy architecture.
Right.
When asked who is corrupt, the Electoral Commission got 43% of people saying most or all, and then 45% saying some of them. What is your interpretation of this? Let me just read that. It says, popular support for elections as the method for choosing leaders has consistently remained high. And the numbers would actually tell you, you've always been between 89, thereabouts, never dropped to 70. It's always 80 and above. And then it says a large majority, 72% of Ghanaians, do not support lowering the voting age from 18 to 16. However, 6 in 10 Ghanaians say the 2020 general elections was completely free and fair, or free with fair with minor problems. And the last bit is a candidate honesty, which ranks about 90%, character 88%, and campaign promises 59% are the three major factors that Ghanaians say will influence their choices in the 2024 polls. What's your interpretation of this?
So we continue to, I believe, try to wrestle with all of these key issues, right? So on the one hand, we strongly support the use of elections as the method for choosing our leaders. But we are also at a point where we don't seem to trust the Electoral Commission. So it creates this sort of a paradox that on the one hand, you really want to always use elections to select your leaders, but the key institution that has to make that happen is...
That's where the process itself, there's no problem there. We want the process.
It's the
elections.
person who is...
It's the institution.
Right. And if you look at NCC's most recent report, they even do two things. They split the trust question into two. Your trust for the electoral system and your trust for the Electoral Commission. If you look at the percentage saying they trust the election system itself, it has dropped from when they first asked the question 2 elections ago from 60-something% to 44%. Okay. And then on the question of trust for the EC, 43% say they trust the EC, but 43% say they don't know if they trust the EC. So again, we are in this situation where we want elections, we want to use elections to select our leaders, but our confidence in the election system and the EC is low. And this is where I again put the responsibility on the election management body to figure out ways in which the things they do can be more transparent, can give, and sometimes they say, you hear things like, well, this is just perception. But there is a basis for some of these perceptions. There are things individuals experience. There are things that they see, they hear, conversations they have. That's why for me, when you put this all together, you don't want citizens starting to get to a point where their mistrust of the EC and their low confidence in the election system becomes a reason they start saying, what's the point of elections anyway?
But
because elections is also at the heart of democracy.
I don't know whether we are not on the precipice, the cusp of that. We're somewhere betwixt and between. But the point you make, right, I don't know, at this point, the 11th hour, the EC, to be fair, has also tried in some ways, like the recent IPAC meetings and trying to explain. Dr. Bosman Asari would be here for the national dialogue about, forecasting what could be done. But there is a trend, again, because if you go back to the 9th survey that you made mention of, you would realize that the trust for the EC had dwindled to about 30-something%. For the first time, only a third of people were saying that they had that confidence in the EC. So this is reflective of the trend, is it not?
Yes, it is. And for me, that was the point at which, in my opinion, I believed an institution like the EC should have taken those signals to say, because round 9 was in 2022. So at least you had 2 good years to do a lot more things to try and reclaim some of that trust. Yes, I give them credit, for example, now allowing the media to cover IPAC meetings. I'm just wondering, if you had tried that a year, 2 years ago, would that have helped? Right. If there were more briefings from the EC, updating citizens regularly, doing registration, for example, they share things on their social media handles, but could they have done that in other avenues as well, right? Could those things have helped get us to a better place in terms of trust?
Right.
I would give Parliament, for example. So Parliament, for example, trust is low, perceptions of corruption is high. I will give them credit for some of the changes they've done now to their standing orders.
Okay.
But it only happened last year, so hopefully with time that would improve. And then the last thing I would mention is the Chief Justice's leading justice reform.
Right.
Maybe that would also help.
Okay, let's just quickly do this. We'll come and wrap with you in the studio. We have Mariada of the Ghana Integrity Initiative joining the conversation as well. A very good morning to you.
Good morning, and good morning to your viewers.
Okay, I'll be handing you over to Sweetie Abochi shortly, but just your quick thoughts on the latest Afro Barometer survey, what it shows, and what it reveals, first of all, about our state institutions, especially the three arms of government, the executive, the legislature, the judiciary, and then you have the Ghana Police Service as well in there. Your initial thoughts on this report?
Initial thoughts, first of all, to say that the reason why these surveys and reports are to take the way forward policy and so these are
Madam Mariada, we're struggling to hear you. I don't know whether you could just, if you just indulge me, move a little and then speak up for me, please.
Okay, then. So, can you hear me now?
Yes, please, I can.
All right. So, just to say that these surveys and also the various ones that come out apart from the AB are to present a picture for the citizenry, but also for policy going forward within. So when we have evidence from the people that are the and also of the citizenry, then it is my belief that the issues that are affected as putting in place measures to ensure that they bring about the change that is required to take the perception and also the way forward for redress some of. And so, we have had various rounds and this end. So it's like most of us have either taken the Barometer and the serious, or it's just that looking at firefighting benefit when it comes to national employee reform.
Madam Mariada, you're breaking up, but we're trying to follow you as best as we can. Could you speak up a bit more?
I am shouting, really shouting.
Okay, it's clearer now. So you land on your thoughts and then I'll come in a bit.
Great.
Well.
So what I'm saying is that it's not just the executive, it's also the legislature and also the third arm of government with the judiciary. So we start to say not much attention has paid the and also others which have paid. And it's not just for one arm of government, for all three.
In fact, what you're saying is true because we see from the data that, in fact, let me ask you this. Which of these institutions surprised you most that appeared here? We have the Ghana Police Service, and I just want to limit it to the people who voted most or all of them. Ghana Police Service with 63%, Office of the Presidency 54%, tax officials 53%, members of parliament, and it goes on and on. I'm sure you have a copy of this. Which of these institutions or categories of people surprised you the most?
So for me, the Office of the President moving up is one of the surprising elements that if you take the executive arm of government, the one that leads is seeming increasingly so citizens test them as corrupt. And for me, that is of the worry. Also, we say over the past, look at analysis for over a period about
years, they brought in citizens' trust against Senator Lam, and we all for it.
Right. Madam Ariada, we will try to reconnect with you in a subsequent bulletin so we can get your perspective on this in a more broader way. But that's all that time will allow us for. Were you also surprised, Dr. John Osae-Kwapong, just to cap off the conversation? Which of these institutions or individuals surprised you the most?
For me, it's not so much of a surprise as in, for the office of the presidency, I think it's a reflection of a position that, with all due respect, the president has taken in the fight against corruption that I think it's hurting him. In the sense that he often, and I agree with him, says, look, not until you are in trouble, you would never appreciate due process. So there's that strict legal test that these issues that come up, allegations of corruption, has to meet. But I think you have to balance the fight against corruption with other political instruments as well. Maybe asking, someone to, even if you are not immediately firing them, asking them to step aside until some of those things help with the perception that the presidency is actually fighting.
Maybe not
corruption.
writing letters at the very start.
So I think some of those things have come back to hurt the institution of the presidency a lot.
Thank you so much, Doc, and thank you, my in-house guest, Sweetie Apache, for joining the conversation. Who joined us on this conversation? We just spoke to Mary Ada, who is with the Ghana Integrity Initiative, and Dr. John Osae-Kwapong, a CDD fellow, helping us break down the latest CDD survey report. We're going to take a breather. When we return, it's our AM exclusive, yes, and we're bringing it to you on a Monday morning. It's an interaction with Osae-Kwapong, the only man who spells his echo with E-K-W-O-W. We'll be talking education, politics, what has happened in Parliament recently, many things. You don't want to miss that after the break. Again, another opportunity, another day, another opportunity, and it's AM exclusive time. So my guest today is a businessman. He's an entrepreneur. He's a man who wears many hats, but he's also a politician. I'm going to drop you some clues, and hopefully you'll be able to guess who my guest is. In terms of his political career, he has acted as Minister of Mines and Energy before. He's been a Minister of Communications. He's been a Minister of Education. And the last ministerial portfolio he held under the John Dramani Mahama administration was Minister of Trade and Industry. Who took over from him? Alan Kojo Chamating. I'm sure you know whom I'm talking about now. But he's also been ambassador to the United States, Ghanaian ambassador to the United States, Ghanaian ambassador to Mexico, and currently, as a leading member of the NDC, he is also the head of business development, the Business Development Committee of the NDC. I'm talking about none other than Osae-Kwapong. He joins me for a conversation. Thank you.
Pleasure to join you.
Good to have you. So I would tease you for starters because Ghana is what, 67, and you are in a comfortable lead, as your party members will say. You are ahead of Ghana.
That is true.
Later, we'll get into the picture of where you were born and how significant it will be in election 2024. And why I'm getting there is because he was born in Kumasi in the Ashanti region. And so knowing that it is crucial to the elections, we'll go there. But for starters, when you look at Ghana today, having lived through all of these, even before independence, and seeing it all, and looking at Ghana now, what picture do you see?
Well, I see a picture of a very great country, a country with great potential, a country with a great history, a country with a great future, but a country with a sad presence in terms of what we currently find ourselves in. And depending on which aspect of Ghana you want to look at, if for those who love sports, we find ourselves being beaten by, I think Sudan was the latest one, and people say, is that how low Ghana has fallen?
But you know, technically, Sudan, Libya, and the rest, some of the countries we don't respect, they are footballing nations. If you go back to even Libya, you know, one of the AFCON finals, we played them in Libya in the finals. I mean, they are not
among the top most names when you talk about football in Africa. They're not in the top 10, let's say.
Okay,
that's all I'm saying.
Let's put it
I'm saying that based on where Ghana has been before, has been, you know, Africa Cup of Nations. People don't expect us to produce these kind of results. That's all I'm saying.
But nowadays there are no minnows in football.
It's a symptom of the decline of Ghana.
Right.
One of our favorite subjects in history was the decline of the kingdom of Ghana itself.
Right.
And Edu Boahin used to write, he wrote a very interesting phrase which we memorized in those days, that in spite of its opulence, wealth, and splendor in the 11th century, the empire of Ghana was no more by the 12th century.
Right.
And the question always came, account for the decline. So the account for the decline of Ghana was a tip that many of us learned a lot and usually did very well. So Ghana is in decline. Financial decline, bankruptcy for the first time in its history. Cocoa Board can't get international, you know, finance for its funding arrangements. Bank of Ghana declares $50 billion loss. The president himself, you know, goes into an arrangement with God Almighty,
more like
to
50
build
plus,
a cathedral.
50 plus billion CD loss. The Bank of Ghana.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying that the height of it all is the president of Ghana quietly goes into prayer with God and gets into an agreement with God. I'll build you a cathedral to honor you for whatever you've done for me. What happened to that? A big hole in the ground.
What's wrong with honoring God?
Well, fantastic. If you honor God using the right means, and God will honor you back. But the means he chose, as we have all learned, was full of bad practices.
Right.
Corruption, money not accountable, a big hole in the ground, 58 million or something, is the evidence of what our president, the leader of our nation, the result of his, I guess, his contract with God. And that tells us that things are not well. The economy is in shambles. Ask any market woman, ask any housewife, ask any of us, any of people in this studio, what are their experiences recently? Every time you go out shopping, the price of anything has increased. So you are running at 25-30% inflation. You are running at budget deficits of huge amounts. National debt that has been a stratosphere, 800 billion cedis of national debt, and there's no end in sight. Even though there's some evidence of little, you know, sun rays in the offing, hopefully. But this is the sad story of Ghana. Water bodies, almost completely browned, become coffee color. How do you explain that to other non-Ghanaians, Africans visiting our country, or those I used to work with in the United States or the World Bank, African Development Bank, who are all asking, what's happening in your country? What's happening in your country? So the story is not very good, but I hope it's a temporary story, which is directly related to the current administration. And when the current administration, by God's grace, departs from the leadership of Ghana through the elections that will be held on the 7th of December, we will all breathe a sigh of fresh air. And hopefully the John Mahama administration, which we are all looking forward to, will usher in a new phase of Ghana's redevelopment. And the whole manifesto of NDC is the resetting of the Ghanaian agenda and the Ghanaian economy, the Ghanaian prospects, and the Ghanaian future.
Before I get to other points, yes, you would hear the clamor by quite a number of Ghanaians for change. It's a vicious cycle, maybe not a vicious cycle, it's a cycle we've had for practically every 8-year term. The question, though, is in 2016, it was as though the NDC were the devil and the NPP were an angel, right? At this point in time, it appears the NDC is some sort of angel, and the MPP is some sort of devil, right? You in the NDC may come to power. Only on December 7th will we get to know what the situation really is. But does that mean you have
power.
all the answers? You can get it right? The point being that you've been there before.
Correct. And our performance and our record was very stellar compared to the one that we are seeing now.
Yes, but you were talking about Galamsey. There was Galamsey under the NDC too.
Correct. Not at this
and
level.
Some of your members. It doesn't have to be everybody.
Of course.
It won't be everybody who will be involved, but some of your members were implicated at some point. Pointed to as benefiting from the very thing that now has become a hydra-headed problem. So is this not just a circus we keep having, going round and round with both of you parties?
In any economy, you can't have the cup always 100% full or 100% empty. So as you know, with the sun that usually is used, sand to use for an hourglass, the hourglass is often not 100% empty or 100% full. So no government is a perfect government. Yes, NDC was not a perfect government. And President Mahama would never claim to be perfect. I hope that we won't say that MPP is also a 100% negative government. So there'll be good people in MPP and there'll be many good people in NDC and some bad people in the community. The country is made up of the community. So the country's population is from which we evolve our government. And so the government will reflect either the worst parts of the country, depending on who have the influence in the government that comes into power, or sometimes the best parts of the country in terms of who manages within the party to have the greatest influence.
Has the MPP reflected the worst part of our country?
Oh, very much so. I'm sorry to say that. To the point that even within their party, such eminent people like Alan Kyerematen you just mentioned have to depart from the party for reasons that they know best. But
that's not the first time that Alan Kyerematen is moving away from his party. Would you say that?
So the fact that every now and again he must move from his party reflects that from time to time negative forces come to the fore of his party and he feels like he can't work in this party at all.
So Alan Kyerematen is a pious character? Is that what you're saying?
Not necessarily. It's an example of the challenges we are facing in the political world, and especially in the party he belongs to. That party to which he belongs, and where he serves or has served prominently in the past, and where he actually expected to be the flag bearer, due to whatever circumstances, he actually had to leave the party altogether. Yes, but different parties also have had people leave them. So I'm not saying that all that has happened only in the NPP. I'm just saying there are symptoms of the ailment in that party. And Adoye, Hobson Adoye, who comes out and speaks often on his behalf, actually has a lot to say, he claims, about the evils and the ills of that party. And I'm saying that evil is everywhere. For those of us who are Christians, who believe in God Almighty and in the role of a devil, the devil has mischief for all of us. But some people gravitate towards the devil and do the devil's bidding. And many of us also, with all the temptations that we all face, try hard to avoid being devilish.
Let me ask you this. You also do realize, I'm just focusing on this briefly, you do realize that if your party comes to power in election 2024, ahead of 2025, well, it's always an if until you cross that bridge. You would have your work cut out for you.
Very much so.
If you look at the economy, and the very things, the economic indices, you would look at inflation, you would look at the exchange rate, you would look at the fact that we are under an IMF supported program, and all the dynamics, debt restructuring, the banking sector cleanup, and all its concomitant effects. You would really have your work cut out for you.
Absolutely.
And you also realize that Ghanaians have got to the point where we are not merciful. We are not patient. We don't have the time for anybody to come and make excuses. Are you up to the task? Because Ghanaians will not forgive you if you fail. And we in the media will scourge you if you fail.
And we shouldn't fail. But President Mahama has only 4 years. And knowing that, you've seen that he's put together a very quick plan of action so that within the first 3 months, 120 days, he does a whole lot of things. So he has almost 100 action plans that he needs to take in the first 2 weeks. Even putting a cabinet in place in the first 2 weeks after being sworn in, it's that time to reflect, obviously. It's that time to identify people and their talents and their capabilities. And if he puts the best foot forward in terms of the soccer team. So we've seen Ghana play football matches, and sometimes we can blame the coach, you can blame the football administration, but we all know that Ghana has talented players. Do we, field our best and most talented players or not? So we cannot make mistakes, and he could make mistakes as well. But if he puts the best foot forward of the NDC, and I'm saying that in my judgment, we don't always have to work only with NDC, in my own judgment. Others may think otherwise. There's a lot of talent in Ghana.
Bringing in people from even other political parties. You can bring in the best and brightest of Ghanaians who can help solve the problem.
Regardless of their political orientation. The nature of the work that they do. For example, I've proposed the National Debt Commission, which will be a bipartisan commission of people from both political persuasions and people who are not known to have any political persuasion, but who can sit down, look at the debt profile of Ghana, break it down into its integral parts, dismember parts which actually should not be there, because Ghana does not owe all that money that somebody will say we owe, because other countries that have put such debt commissions in place have discovered that 5, 10, 20% of the debt shouldn't be there at all. If you ask any managing director of any organization, any financial controller of any company which has a big debt profile, Cocoa Board, GNPC, or any other company, if you actually look at the debt, the people who claim their own money by that organization, you find that some of the alleged debt should not be there. These are all contracted and constructed, and all the so-called loot share.
So manufactured.
Manufactured, there are plenty of it. All these contracts that should not be there. Some of them are at the Flagstaff House or Jubilee House. Things that should not be there. Somebody who owns 34
Are you
companies.
saying this based on fact or based on conjecture?
No, not on conjecture. On things that have been shared even on some of your own television programs by people who have unearthed them.
Right.
Contracts that should not be there.
This then paints the
picture. This is part of Ghana's debt profile.
Right.
So if you do a proper, analysis of the debt profile and remove debt that should not be there, you get immediate headroom. You get 5-10% headroom to do other things with fiscal space.
You see, you've said two things.
Among many things.
What you just said.
Yes.
It reminds me of what candidate Akufo-Addo said before he became president.
Possible.
You talk about, and we can do this, and then it creates. I'm getting there. And it will have the fiscal space and all of that.
Correct.
Yes.
And
so accommodate.
But did he allow the best person?
Yes.
Yeah, the good quotations. Yes. All that is true.
We see where we are now.
But did he do the right thing?
He said, I am a man in a hurry. You remember, you are telling me that within the first 2 weeks, former President Mahama, if he becomes president again, cabinet and all of that, I'm a man in a hurry.
Correct.
Look at where we are.
No, so I'm saying that
yes, I don't know.
It is possible for people to promise and fail. As many women who were promised all kinds of things by their husbands or lovers and who just turned out to be nasty and wrong decisions. So all these things happen in human life. So yes, it is possible for NDC to promise and not perform as well as we hope to do. But that's why you are here as a media person, to point it out within the first 100 days, 120 days, 700 days. NDC, are you doing what you said you do? We have looked at your manifesto, we have looked at promises. You are not doing them well. So fine, we should be willing to be subjected to the rigors of the population evaluating us. But I'm saying that no evaluation of NDC and President Mahama coming back again after all the lessons he learned before can never be anywhere as bad as the current regime that we have. Now, that
so it is not that the NDC fared well, it is that the MPP has fared worse.
Both.
Or badly.
Both. That NDC fared very well, and we did many things which MPP come. Is MPP, you must understand the culture and the tradition of the political parties. And now we all know that Kwame Nkrumah was a great leader. Do you know that? Do you think so? Do you believe that?
That Kwame Nkrumah
was a great leader?
I think he's the greatest leader we've had.
Very good. So why was he bastardized so much by the NPP? Because those are the people bastardized him at the time. Of the United...
the UGCC.
UGCC and...
United Gold Coast Convention.
UGC Convention and the United Party. They bastardized the man.
So you mean the UP tradition?
Until recently, even for our children and grandchildren, we don't know that the guy was a very honest man who actually stole nothing, hadn't even taken one cement block that didn't belong to him as his personal property, had no piece of land, one plot of land in Ghana that he owns for his own family and himself, was putting property of Ghana into suits that were given to him by foreign leaders to make sure that people know this is not my property. We didn't know all of those things because we had been lied to. And then people had lied many, many times. I'm talking about their grandfathers, not the current regime.
You're talking of the tradition.
The tradition. So that tradition is one that undermines the good leadership of Ghana, makes us hate our own leaders and think they are evil. Why is it that it's Hobson Adoye, for example, of MPP, who came and said he made a mistake? He's the one that associated President Mahama with drinking or something, and that he is willing to apologize for him. Why did Chatawale apparently go and apologize to President Mahama? There are so many people who are willing to apologize and, oh yeah, we're wrong. But they were wrong because...
But you could also say that is political and that people sometimes are blown where the political wind,
well,
I've
mentioned people's names.
Where they see there could be opportunity. That could also be the case.
That could be the case. But I think these are people who really have regretted their negative actions. There's a lot of them.
You started talking about the fact that if we got rid of certain elements of corruption,
absolutely,
we would be able to fare better. I mean, you don't need to go far. The finance ministry itself, when Ken Ofori-Atta was Minister of Finance, there were documents that pointed to the fact that every year Ghana lost anywhere between $3 and $4+ billion to corruption.
Yes.
If you look at data from other sources, it could be as high as $6 billion. How much are we going to the IMF for? Half of that.
Excellent.
How much of a problem is corruption, and what is the solution of your end on the political spectrum in dealing with it? Because both sides have shown to be not strong enough in taming. You've not been able to tame corruption.
No, Ghana as a country has had difficulty taming corruption because too many of our Ghanaians, and all of us, either tolerate it or are part of it in one form or the other. But you see, you can only tell when you actually examine people by their performance and their behavior. So you can tell, for example, from me, you can tell from President Mahama. We both were ministers of communication, your industry. We were responsible for giving out frequencies, TV licenses, telephone licenses, and all that. And we didn't steal any of those licenses or pack it for our friends and family, which some people have done in that ministry and other ministries. So when the wealth of the country is put in your care as a president or as a leader, and the way in which you share the wealth or tolerate people who abuse their wealth, nowhere in the history of NDC, as I remember, did somebody keep millions of dollars and cedis in their house and different currencies. And then the president, when he hears about it, writes a letter to the minister.
Nowhere was it discovered.
No, but when a minister...
They say you are not a thief until you are caught.
Yes, but when a minister only talked in her car with her driver that, oh, she looking to earn $1 million. Under NDC, under Mahama, what do you happen to that minister?
Vicky Hammer.
Yeah, I'll mention the name, but she was dismissed immediately. So that tells you, or told you then, the attitude or the mindset of that president. But when another president has obvious signs of money being badly used, at least they were not put in the bank. Just start from that. And the person has not been able to tell where the money came from. So it's going to be a funeral and family. It's not any of that. And then judges also set the persons free in terms of the Office of Special Prosecution, the Prosecutor's Office, trying to do something on behalf of the state to recover that money.
That's how you saw it.
That is the fact of the situation.
Well, the president also says, I believe in the rule of law. I believe in due process. And until
so why did the president write
until you are in
to
that
person?
Position,
no, so why
you will not appreciate the rule of law until maybe you are somewhere and you are in a fix, you've been accused, you may not
no, I understand the rule of law, that you must have the law.
And he says he doesn't deal with these people anyway. There are state institutions.
Yes, but you write a letter, open letter for the whole world to see that dear so and so, by the whole time this investigation is over, you will be cleared and you know that
what he said was your integrity will.
What does that mean? That you have reached judgment already. So if you're a police officer, inspector of police, you're supposed to investigate that crime, or a detective, and you know that such a letter has been written by His Excellency the President to the woman or the man you're supposed to investigate. What are your likely
blunt question.
behavior?
How do we tame corruption? seriously? How do
By
we do it?
enforcing the law. As simple as that. Enforce the law. There are laws against speed driving. There are laws against misbehavior of all kinds. The criminal code is there. Enforce it. If you just enforce the law and you yourself set a good example as a leader in obeying the law. Nkrumah was not found to have, you know, even though he was accused, as I said, of doing many things. Wasn't Mahama accused of having hotels in Dubai and other things by the NPP? Have they provided any evidence of any of that since they came to power? They've had 7 years of packing the courts with all kinds of people, including people who are purely NPP, who stood on NPP party tickets and are now judges openly. They don't mind that. The Electoral Commission, you pack them with party sympathizers and radio talk show, you know, performers who declare open support for your party instead of taking neutral people. When we had, you know, the first National Electoral Commissioner under Rawlings, the person was not known to belong to any particular party. And other electoral commissioners have been reasonably neutral. But in this case, there have been a clear and open effort to pack the courts, to pack the Electoral Commission, to pack public institutions with all kinds of party apparatchiks. Go to the civil service and ask people. Go to the Registrar General. Go to the National Ghana Revenue Authority. In almost all these public service institutions, unless you are openly a supporter of the NPP, you either don't get a job or you don't get promoted. It's well known. I talk to public servants all the time. Even diplomats know this openly. I mean, U.S. Embassy officials, British Embassy officials, you know, African Embassy officials.
No, openly that.
They know that public services have become porous, and that politicization of appointments and of, at these institutions now, there are now 2 or 3 categories of people. There's the public servants who get salary every month from the government. There's a new category of people who put themselves between you and the public servant, as whether they are, you call them guru boys in those days, but they are now consultants. They have offices either in the office of the organization or next to it, and they are the ones you must talk to for anything to get done in the actual civil service offices throughout the whole public service of Ghana. Everywhere you go, I'll mention the names of the commissions, but you know them very well. Whether it's a forestry commission, whether it's a lands commission, whether it's a social commission, if you don't talk to any of these people, your job will not get done. So the actual service cost, which the government usually prices very moderately, getting some permits here, 20 cedis, 500 cedis, 700 cedis, these intermediaries come in, you pay 3,000 cedis. Try and get admission into a police service or immigration service or any of these services. Even secondary school admission, unless you pay 1,000, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, the rates keep going up. You just can't get admission to these places because the population is growing, so the demand and supply issues are also working, and people are taking advantage of it by rent seeking. And all that is going on, that's part of the corruption. But if the people see that the leader, himself or herself, are willing to stay above it, which I said Kwame Nkrumah did, which Rawlings did to as the best of his efforts, and which I believe Mahama also did, then you have a somewhat better society. But you not eradicate corruption entirely. Not in the United States, not in Britain, not in Israel. There will be some elements, but you have to tame the rogue elements in any society.
Right.
The laws are produced for rogue elements to behave themselves.
Right.
Otherwise, we'll all be walking around naked and misbehaving because there are no laws.
I see. Then I guess former President Kufuor was right when he said, corruption had been with us since the days of Adam.
Correct. But the point was that, having admitted that corruption had been with us, the point was for him to do something about it. It's been with us, all right, but yes, do what you can do to tame it.
Let's talk corruption. In fact, let's move from corruption and talk galamsey.
All right.
Right. It's become a serious issue which is a form of, in fact, that was why I said corruption. It's become a problem that is slowly poisoning all of us.
And it's greed that is motivating it.
Now,
greed, excessive greed.
Scientists will tell us that the yams, maybe even cassava, plantain we are eating,
everything,
could all be problematic for us.
Absolutely.
Maybe there could be carcinogenic elements and all of that.
And then when people say that, why don't you declare an state of emergency, what happens?
Right.
What happens to that idea? You and your media people, let's have a state of emergency so that we take remedial actions. You send 100 people into some forest zones to supposedly burn 25 fines or whatever, and that is a 9-day wonder. What is happening with the powers that have been given to the president, if he really wants to exercise it, to protect the national interest, to protect our national patrimony, to protect the flora and fauna of Ghana? I don't see that is happening. He's not utilizing those powers, which he has.
In terms of turbidity, I mean, 4 NTU is what some people will say is safe. In some places, we're over 14,000.
You can kill yourself with that. Drink that water and see. But it's
slow
death. That's the problem.
The issue.
If this was an aeroplane that had crashed,
right,
5,000 people had died, we would notice it immediately. But because this is slow death, 5,000 people may be dying every month, every year in certain regions, but we can't see them.
We see some of it in the number of kidney disease cases and others.
Very good.
My question is, if you look, sometimes I look at how our land has become like sludge.
Correct.
I look at water bodies that are literally dead.
Yes.
Do you think we can do this? Do you seriously? Do you think we can win the war against Galamsey?
We can do it, but putting all the hands on deck, starting with the president taking the right
Maybe
decisions.
I should rephrase.
Okay.
Do you think we can win the war against Galamsey with politicians at the forefront?
We have no choice unless we change the constitution of Ghana to make a priest who is not necessarily better, or to make a carpenter a leader of the country. There's no choice. The constitution is what we have. And the governance structure we've selected is the Western style governance structure of periodic elections, and therefore you need political parties to run those elections. So that we can't go away from that. So the structure is what we have. How do we make the best of that structure? And I'm saying that you have a Council for Scientific and Industrial Research. These are government institutions which will give you hard facts, not emotional. You have BNI, which can investigate anything. If you actually put the right people there, they're not going to send you a fictitious report just to put somebody in trouble. You know, so it is the government institutions that must be clean. The public services must be cleaner. They must be filled with political apparatchiks who are just there to earn some money and to do somebody's bidding. They must do clean work, and that's not what is happening now. So whether it's Forestry Commission, where somebody was sent as a forest commissioner, CEO of the commission, and within a few years, I think had produced over 100 pieces of property at his death. And people say, wow, how can this happen? Or somebody who became a deputy
I don't know why you're avoiding names, but you're talking of Sir John.
You know the names, because I don't want to personalize it. I'm talking about the issues. So it's not about people, it's about what they do. Somebody dies as a deputy finance minister and he's alleged to have $35 million. If it's true or not, I don't know. But those are the things that we are all hearing. And I've been a minister in 4 portfolios. I've been in charge of mines and energy. I could have taken 3, 5, 7 gold mines for myself and my family and friends. But that's not what I was taught by my parents and by the Nkrumah regime. I was a young pioneer. And we were the ones who were supposed to come and, be at the forefront of the youth leadership of Ghana and to produce a new Ghanaian. You see, so Nkrumah was trying to put a new Ghanaian in place and trained us as 9, 10-year-old people to have a certain attitude to our country, passion to your country. I mean, nationalism, patriotism, ethics. Those were things we were taught physically in classrooms as young boys. So you come up thinking a different way. So when Rollins identified that in me, as South African Development Bank, he said, look, can you stop that work you're doing and come and help me? I was saying $10,000 a month. Why would they want to come and supposedly help Ghana if I didn't have that Nkrumah's mindset? I came, the salary of a minister was $500 in 1997. I took it and I didn't soil my hands. But it's difficult. I'm not saying it's easy. It's difficult. And so you must have people that are so minded. And there are people like that. Any leader must look for them and surround himself with such people and get good advice. You get all kinds of advice. Good, bad,
some of my media colleagues who go on the ground, some will tell you, there are chiefs involved.
Yes,
everybody. Whether it's Forestry Commission, there are some involved. Police, there are some involved.
But district chief executives being given mining licenses?
DCs,
MCs,
among others. And many faceless characters.
2,000 licenses
as
just
well.
A few years.
I've heard the story of a chief, a very prominent chief, and of course I cannot mention his name.
You can't mention the name, right?
Who, some of them are dicey because
it's
not
been
out established. But who told people that the politicians who are doing it, you don't mention them, but me on my land, if I am doing Galamsey, you want to come and threaten my people.
Okay.
That's a matter for the state to resolve. This galamsey...
But when others go on demonstration just to draw attention to this national crisis and recommend, among other things, that, Mr. President, you have the power to impose a state of emergency. A state of emergency can be imposed regionally, it can be imposed sectorially, it can be imposed so many ways. So it's not about the whole country is shut down. We haven't seen that kind of action.
So you're referencing Democracy Hub and the arrests. Oliver Barker-Vormawor is still... he's been granted bail, but he's still... There are allegations that he's been beaten up, taken to hospital, but not granted medication.
So this is why we are expecting the media to give us the facts of that particular incident. For example, I haven't heard a media expose about what Oliver Barker-Vormawor's family is saying is true or not. That would be good to know.
At this point, it is difficult to establish
the truth or veracity,
because the police also comes out and says
nothing happened to him.
This is not true, and all of that.
All right.
Time will tell when we have access to him. And some of us paid visits to some of them. Twice I went to see Felicity Nelson, among others. So we do our bit.
Very good.
In there. But on the back of the fight against galamsey, the media has not been spared. Recently, my colleague Erastus Asaridonko and some others were literally beaten up.
Yeah, we've heard about that. Have you heard any statements in support of the media freedom on this matter? Because some of you, I know, go on air and talk about media freedoms, and the fact that journalists
within the media fraternity, and the multimedia group issued a statement on that.
I'm talking about government of the Ghana.
I know exactly what you're saying, but those are some of the problems, and they affect our press freedom, indices, performance, and
people don't care about that, obviously. But why would anybody give district chief executives, almost all of them, mining licenses? Why? That has happened in the last few years. All other than supposed community mining licenses, because multinationals are mining our gold, so we should also mine our gold. I mean, free for all. It's a free for all. There's no regulation. There's no proper, attempt to impose any discipline. It's a lawless society. That's what the Akufo-Addo government is overseeing, and that's what some of them benefit from.
Since you're talking about all of this, and lest I forget, what do you think will be Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's legacy? Take the politics out of it.
Well,
as a Ghanaian, what do you think his legacy?
When Akufo-Addo made statements such as the aid, Ghana without aid,
Ghana beyond aid,
I mean, he's made a lot of nice statements. He's a good orator, trained in Britain, so he makes nice, interesting statements. But his own family members, including some lady who was on TV or a video recently, was saying that, look, in the Akufo-Addo family itself, the larger one, they are very disappointed with him. And they themselves get together periodically to chastise themselves and they are embarrassed. They themselves are embarrassed when they go out among their colleagues and among their peers. Now, whether that lady's statement is true or false, I can't vouch for it. But I'm saying there's a video that I have seen only yesterday with this lady who probably lives in Ghana, in US or London or somewhere else, saying that in their own family they're embarrassed. The Japadier document, she actually claims to have been the conduit through which a Japadier document went through some people and into the media hands. So people have sat down and planned that we shall capture the state of Ghana, state capture, and milk it for our personal benefit, and make sure that the kingdom that they come from, Japadier, becomes as powerful as supposedly a rival kingdom, which is the Ashanti one. And I'm a friend of both the Asante and the Ochehini, by the way. So I'm only speaking about what is already in the public domain.
Let's move from the politically charged bits for a moment.
Very good.
And talk about a sector you've headed before we come back to Parliament and everything happening there. Education.
Excellent.
Where are we? You've been Minister of Education.
Catastrophic. Before. Only yesterday, this organization actually tries to provide mentorship in mostly secondary schools and universities to students to help them. That's Africa Business Center for Developing Education. We are at Africa House, Asylum Down. And we just tried recently to arrange a program for a certain secondary school. And 1 week to the event, after we've planned it for more than 2 months, we hear that, the schools will be out, and they only got that message on Saturday that they are not going to be on. I said, what kind of situation is that? They say, but are you now getting aware of this? That the entire school system is in complete disarray. They don't know the school year, when they are going in, when they are coming out, when it's fast track, when it's blue track. I mean, look, even parents are not being allowed to organize themselves with teachers. We used to have Parent Teacher Association, PTA, which was a good sounding board for any headmaster or any group of people to know what is going on in the school, because the parents will tell you there, the teachers will be there. But this MPP government, for reasons that I understand, because they don't want any group of people to unify, to unite and have common purposes that will hurt their programs. So they've dismembered Parent Teacher Association and created Parents Association. So parents only meet. There are no teachers there. What are they going to learn about? What is happening in their schools? Now, I'm learning from others that even in the school system, there are no term reports at all. There's somebody in a secondary school. She works with me. And she's telling me that in that school, in a very prominent school as well, and I believe it's a practice in almost all the schools, there are no terminal reports for you to know that your son or daughter has performed this way or that way.
Do you have proof of that? Or is it just hearsay?
Well, after this interview, I will introduce you to that person. No, what kind of proof do you want?
It behoves you as well.
As Minister of Education.
To have, if you had seen something, then you can.
I'm telling you, the whole world. I'm sending you an interview for the whole world to hear that there are no terminal reports being proposed in Ghana today. If there are terminal reports, let the Ministry of Education come and tell us the terminal reports that people are getting. The person is a parent who doesn't get any terminal reports. I've got another child in a secondary school who lives with me and also doesn't get any reports. And he tells me that the teachers don't even come to school. As I'll say not a top tier school, but a second tier school, which is a good school anyway. But I say the teachers don't come for more than 1 or 2 hours a day, and they're just gallivanting all over the place, and there's no proper supervision, no checks and balances. And so he doesn't even know how they're going to finish the education. So yes, the free educational system, which NDC also started under Mahama, and which our constitution actually guarantees that Ghana should have free compulsory basic universal education, F-cube, which was what I and others in the Ministry of Education and successor ministers have all promoted. But somebody came with a good slogan, free SHS, which caught on and which they tried to implement against lots of advice. The manner in which they were implementing it, the first year they started it. I said, no. People said, oh, why don't you wait, put your systems together? Because when I was the Minister of Education, I called a National Education Forum at the International Conference Center to hear what everybody would say. After 2 days, we sat at the International Conference Center with 1,000 stakeholders in education. Parents were there, trade unions, business people, banks, whatever. What are the issues in education? I heard all of it. Rawlings came there, he spoke.
That the MPP doesn't listen?
They don't want to hear anything. They don't, until it's their slogan.
Okay, but let me ask you this. I mean, you've touched on a lot of negatives. Are there any positives that the MPP has brought to bear when it comes to education?
No,
how about free SHS, for example?
As I said, the mere idea, which was constitutionally provided, but obviously not as fast accelerated by other previous governments before the MPP came, of offering everybody a so-called free education, is a good thing if it actually is free. But if they say free education, and then when you actually get a list of the things that your ward or yourself, your parent, should bring to the school, there are 20 items that we never had as a requirement for a school. So basically, the government simply replaced what they should be paying for and asked parents to pay for it from the back door. So bring a cutlass, bring a broom, bring spoons, bring this, bring that, buckets, all that as part of your coming to a boarding school to prevent the government from providing those items which were normally provided by public sector institutions.
Have you seen in recent times, ahead of the elections, some of the campaign videos, messages of the MPP? You would see some students talking about, oh, I wouldn't have been able to attend senior high school without this free SHS policy.
Good. Yes.
I guess for them, that is something I haven't experienced it, but they have. And definitely you would have relations who would benefit from such a
I think that's good.
A program as well.
And that part of the free education is
there
good.
There are positives, right?
Of course. Very few things that are negative don't have any positives.
And the NDC will continue with free SHS.
President Mahama has pledged that several times. There are also advertisements from the campaign team repeating that pledge. Because President Mahama himself was part of the process of introducing free senior high school education during his term. But it wasn't branded, it wasn't politicized and so forth. So it wasn't well known. So he has nothing against it fundamentally. After all, most Northerners, because he comes from the northern region, already enjoyed a certain kind of free education in the public schools under Kwame Nkrumah. From Kwame Nkrumah's time, if you came from the northern region, you already enjoyed free education. So free education as a concept is not new, but extending it to the whole of Ghana under the MPP is something that they brought out, which in principle is good, but in the implementation has been muddied and murky. And if they only take advice, they'll do a lot better than they're doing now. So just not willing to take advice. And that, if you see people like Professor Adai Mensah, who will tell you that they wrote all kinds of memos, they didn't get far from. There are many education specialists who regret that advice they give to this government has not really been taken. So often it's not about Ghanaians not being able to solve our problems. We are very good at solving our problems. We are very capable of solving our problems. And being an ambassador to the United States opened my eyes to the fact that even outside this country, we are the most highly sought after human being to be given a visa to go to the United States. You know, Ghana, for many, many years, always gets more visa, green card, lottery beneficiaries than even Nigeria, which has 4 or 5 times our population size, just because Ghanaians have proven themselves to be hardworking, to be loyal, to be obedient, to be whatever, non-criminal, controversial when they lead the country. So our human resource material is fantastic. Ghanaians qualified to enter any academic institution in the world. You go to Harvard, you find them. You go to Oxford, you find them. Stanford, whatever institution you're talking about. So the brain material is solid. And the ethical part is potentially good, but people, the worst part of our population often get into certain political positions and do very bad things. At the procurement agency, for example.
Let's go to Parliament. And in recent times, there's been quite a tussle in respect of Article 97, 1G and H of the Constitution. A tussle that was not a tussle in 2020, but became a tussle now because of the parliamentary numbers, partly.
Yes.
And Afenyo Markin went to court. That is the leader of the MPP.
In Parliament,
yes. In Parliament, yes. And in fact, the entire domino effect culminating in the Speaker of Parliament, when Parliament did sit, adjourning the House, sine die, indefinitely, till there is a ruling from the Apex Court. Having observed politics over the decades, what do you make of that situation and the role of the Supreme Court, the role of Parliament, and maybe even the role of the executive in all this?
I think there are 2 quotations on that subject which are very relevant. The first actually, which became public, was the Minister for National Security, Kandapa, going to address judges and telling them, look, I don't want to misquote him, but basically the effect of his comment was that sometimes the decisions you make, even for them as a ruling government, can become embarrassing in the sense that we know we may have appointed you, but there are ways in which you can take decisions that are not so obvious and overt and even may harm the national security. So it wasn't a Minister for Justice saying this. It wasn't a Minister for the Economy that was saying it. Minister for National Security. That means there are certain decisions that the judiciary sometimes take based on their own criteria, but which have negative potential effects for the whole country. That was Minister of National Security. The latest one, I think, was from former Attorney Chief Justice Sofa Akufo, who said, again, I don't want to misquote her, but it was like there are some decisions that are being made by her former colleagues, which she herself has difficulty in appreciating because I guess the way in which the decisions are being made, I wish I could quote her accurately, but it was a critical comment about the same judicial system that she was the leader of, meaning that, of course, all organizations go through various, trials and tribulations. They go through changes of various kinds. But at this time, the kind of, decisions were 7-0, 9-0, 5-0, and they think they are playing a soccer match and they are doing very well because they've just beaten Nigeria 5-0. No, this is the court of Ghana. And 7-0, 9-0 decision by any court is not impressive to most jurists. So in the United States, when the Supreme Court sits, they come with very narrow differences. Sometimes, yeah, 7-5, sometimes 7-2. I won't give you the numbers, but some people don't always agree. I mean, the idea that you have all been selected based on your individual knowledge and skill sets, and so we don't expect you to match, lock and stop and barrel as if you are robots. But I'm saying that, unfortunately, the current legal system, which has been critiqued by both the National Security Minister and by former Chief Justice, suggests that Nyoman Koyi in the world of governance. Now, when you in the media have also...
Are you then suggesting the judiciary is compromised?
No. When you, the media, have asked survey questions such as what percentage of Ghanaians believe that the judiciary is, use the word corrupt, for example, or when Azim Anasa Azuri or some other person who did the video on judicial corruption, I don't want to get the wrong person's name. Anas, I think it was Anas' case. Yeah, so people were looking for goats and sheep openly on camera. If you bring me a sheep or a goat, I'll give you justice. My kind of justice. I'll release
but you cannot say that is a reflection of the entirety of the judicial system.
Nothing is a reflection of the entirety.
And these people they had their day in court, so to speak. They had their day for the judicial system to address those issues, and some of them were
found not to have committed any offenses.
And others were.
The others were. So, like everything else, small boys in a classroom, somebody whistled, a teacher who whistled in a classroom, nobody wants to show up. He may whip all the students if he wants, just because of one person or two people who were doing the whistling. So collective punishment, yes, we don't accept that. So if you are in Gaza, you don't appreciate the fact that all of you Gazarians are being mowed down because maybe 100 people went and misbehaved somewhere. But those are parts of the realities of life. Not all Ukrainians are bad people, but they are fighting a war against Russia for whatever anybody had done, which Putin disagrees with. So the judiciary as an institution is what they are asking about. And I'm saying that currently, for a number of reasons, they don't have a good image. As a former image maker, I'll be happy to give them all kinds of advice. If
you could give the Chief Justice, Gertrude Tokonu, one piece of advice today, what would it be? Just
follow the law. I mean, don't allow... I don't know who calls who, because I know politicians call justices, yes, routinely. Chiefs call justices. Many people call justices. But the justices actually, from my understanding, are supposed to even try to exclude themselves from certain social... So if you invite a justice to even a wedding or some other social event, some of them will not come, and they will give you a reason that they don't want to be seen in certain places mingling with normal people just because they don't want their reputations to be compromised. So they are being given certain privileges. They retire on their salaries. And so that idea alone should be comforting to you, that no matter what you do, you retire on your salary. Some people don't retire on any salary. I worked for 50 years. I don't have a pension because of decisions I took myself. But they have a pension. They are retiring their salaries. That should give you enough comfort to simply obey the law. I mean, do the right thing. But the point is that law, from what I understand, has potential for numerous interpretations. The same article, the same sentence. That's why lawyers go to court. That's why judges get it right and get it wrong sometimes. So you can get a case that at a magistrate court, a decision went this way. It goes to a high court, it goes the other way. It goes to appeal court, it goes another way. It goes to a Supreme Court, it goes to the same case.
So I get the point you're making.
Yes.
With the sort of tussle.
Yes, sir.
Separation of powers calls for a balance of power.
Very true.
Right now it appears there's shoulder rubbing and ego tripping and who is more powerful and you can't do this and if you do this I'll do that.
But let's go back.
You could call it tit for tat. The point is where we are now, does it serve our democratic purpose, our democratic credentials, and the decision that the Speaker took in terms of also adjourning Parliament indefinitely, do you feel that was the best step that could have been taken?
Again, I'm not a lawyer, but I think he got a whole lot of advice from a whole lot of people. And I think some of you were even broadcasting it before the decision that this is what many experts in law are suggesting could be some kind of a peacemaking approach. Because anything else he did would have been seen as a stepping over the judiciary or not respecting the decision of the judges. So this
was a sort of neutral.
Yeah, it's like abstaining in a vote at the United Nations. Just abstain.
Well, his lawyers have put in a request to quash that ruling of the court.
Good. So that's
let's conclude the conversation on the John Dramani Mahama campaign, and now we can go back to the Ashanti region where you were born, Kumasi to be specific.
Correct.
How healthy is the John Dramani Mahama campaign, and the Ashanti region, like I mentioned?
Yes.
Depending on how many votes the MPP garners there, it's going to either spell doom or gloom for your party.
Yes.
How are you handling that region? And do you think you can make any inroads there?
Well, I'm sure we can make inroads there. Again, I can't speak for the party because that's not what this interview was about. I'm not a party officer. I used to be a vice chairman of the party. I used to be the spokesman of the party.
So you can speak as an observer?
No. So I'm coming to that, but I'm saying that I used to be director of communications. What Sami Jamfi is doing now is something I used to do more than 20 years ago. So I know what it is to misspeak just because you're being interviewed and you say something which is not party position. But I'm saying the party obviously intends and would like to get more than the 30% that it doesn't get in the votes generally in Ashanti region. And there are many, many ideas that are being talked about. But of course, I can also reveal those that will be actually implemented during the electioneering period. But in the past, the two things that the MPP have used somewhat effectively against us in Ashanti region and in many other parts of the country has been intimidation of our supporters by either physical violence or threats of physical violence, which this government also has implemented, especially in the Volta region, and against the SAL, the four communities that were not even given the right to vote in the Volta region. So that habit of one, intimidation, then secondly, money. So money will be pumped heavily by the government of the day. I'm not a prophet, but I will be when the evidence comes out later. Just because the Bank of Ghana losses that are yet to be demonstrably proven as to why a whole Bank of Ghana, which has been in business for 70 years, can suddenly have a 50 billion loss. So there are many theories as to...
Some explanations have been given.
Well, there'll be official explanations, and then there'll be unofficial ones. That's why they say there's politics and there's politricks. Now, there's a lot of politricking that is going on now, and that will continue to go on. And in the Ashanti region, we are very concerned about the fact that even how the Electoral Commission and other agencies have mapped out the country so that they have so many more legislators than any other region. I don't want to get the facts wrong, but I think there are 40 or so in Ashanti region alone. And of course, Greater Accra also has a large number of legislators. So this is supposed to be dependent on population size and any number of factors. But that gives them a lot of weight, which some may say may be somewhat outsized with regards to the size of the country, physical size, geographical size, and then the size of the overall Ghana population.
Also counts, right?
Yeah,
apart from the Greater Accra region,
sure.
I believe the next is the
populace. Yes, so population counts, but I'm saying that the way the demarcations of parliamentary seats have been done over the years, they happen to have a little few more than somebody else would have suggested that they deserve. Nevertheless, we are concerned about Ashanti region. And Ashanti region is not only for Ashantis. I'm a Fanti born in Ashanti region. There are Voltarians born in Ashanti region. There are Northerners born in Ashanti region or living there, married to Ashantis and all that. So we look at all those demographic permutations and we have strategies to do the best we can with the various communities which are sympathetic to NDC.
Okay.
Because there are communities that are very, very sympathetic to NDC, but there are others that obviously just will take anybody as long as the MPP. They will tell you that even if you put a dog in MPP colors, they'll vote for it, etc.
But same could be said of your side. In Asawase and other places, some too would say that no matter what you do in some of these Zango communities, they will vote NDC. So it's
I'm saying
a two-way street.
Knowing all that, we'll have to take remedial measures on the day of voting and the day before in particular, in terms of how we populate the place, how we allow election monitors or some of our lawyers, for example, who have volunteered to play roles in the whole election system, and accountants who also, because they work with numbers, have also volunteered to play a number of roles which they didn't play in the past. So mobilizing a lot of professionals who can play roles that other small young boys who are not very vigilant and who can be given 500 cedis or 1,000 cedis and say, hey, get out of this place and forget about your polling agency work, are among the things that I believe we will be doing to make sure that we protect our ballot boxes and we also prevent, voter fraud, which has occurred in many cases. I mean, the recent revelations from the register of the Electoral Register, which revealed, according to our spokespeople, that more than 200,000 people had been deliberately pushed aside.
Some of those questions have been addressed by the EC, haven't they?
By saying what? How did people?
I mean,
how did they get addressed?
There was even the IPAC meeting and some progress made.
The computers that have been lost as well.
Some progress made. I mean, those machines. That is another issue.
Where are they?
But there has been talk about some of, is it Pusiga and other places, and some of what happened there. All I'm saying is the Electoral Commission itself has admitted that it's not a perfect institution.
It will not be.
But
it's being made more imperfect.
To remedy
you make an institution that is not so perfect, more imperfect, when you pack it deliberately with people who you know in advance, who are on television, who have videotapes of them, who your national security officers will tell you, this man, we know him to be NPP, and this is evidence against him. But you appoint him again to the position.
I mean, just to conclude on this point, your final words, but feed into your final words. I interacted with a pastor today. I found it interesting. Okay. Sometimes spirituality in politics and who gets what, when, and how.
I used to be a chief executive of a church. Action Chapel. You didn't know that?
No, that I don't.
Among the many things I've done.
How much do you believe in spirituality and politics? Some people, it's like spirituality and football or those things. But this person was telling me that, he saw something and there was a confirmation of it in a certain by-election. And that, of course, I can't mention whatever he said, but that he saw certain percentages and it's going to mean this and that for
I don't believe in any of the so-called prophets who prophet about numbers. You see, if they have prophetic capacity.
First off, let me pose my question. So, do you believe the NDC is going to win this election? The MPP wants to win it. And by what estimation, in terms of percentages, do you think the NDC will win?
The statistical evidence is out.
It is.
And I'll tell you from global analytics alone, Mr.
Musa
Dankwa, who nobody questions, at least not that to my knowledge.
Well, the MPP does question
his credibility. No, when it favors them, they have no question his projections in the past. Nevertheless, those are his projections. And under his projections, President Mama consistently, for more than 1 year, has had over 50%, usually 51, 52% of the vote. And Mr. Baomian has not gotten more than 40% consistently from the research. And the facts are obvious. Where do voters of Alan Chabate come from? Where would they come from? They are former NPP guys who followed him in the yellow suit. And then Mr. Bediakun, who may have support in many regions of Ghana, but his core support is also Ashanti anyway. So if the two of them plus other small parties have about 10% of the vote consistently, then the election results is out. But if we want the one certified by the Electoral Commission, they are waiting for them to see whether they'll try and massage these figures, which we all know, and bring us something fraudulent.
So you are suspicious of the EC?
We just told you. Somebody has packed the EC with known NPP apparatchiks. What do you expect? They will be trying hard, using all kinds of methodologies, because NDC will be asleep, or we are not as smart as they are, or they know more, trigonometry or whatever. We are wide awake. Whatever method we are wide awake.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Ekos Biogabra, for joining the conversation today. It's been interesting.
I hope so.
Catching up with you, and of course, we wish you the very best on your
by God's grace
business journey
by God's
and
grace.
Your political journey as well. And that has been the conversation with Eko Spiogabra, a man of many things, a politician, a businessman, and a member of the National Democratic Congress. This has been AM Exclusive with me, Benjamin Akapo. Thank you for watching.